Hello, welcome. Oh, we've got some special guests today. Hi, Pizza. This is a foster dog that we have been fostering for the past 6 weeks. And this is the first time we've fostered, I think he's number 5 or 6. And I've never foster failed before, meaning adopting the dog. But this is the one, I think. Daily, we might be doing it. So, well, but maybe this will be his little test. So Pizza, let's see how well behaved you are on our podcast, huh? Not that it matters.
So this is the Knitting a Good Yarn podcast. My name is Jackie.
This is
Carmen.
and
Carmen.
And Frisco.
He's
over here getting his spot. And
Lily, who's down on the floor.
Oh,
she's a bit big for the couch, but maybe she'll make an appearance.
Yes.
So, welcome. This is a knitting fibery podcast with a heavy dose of chaos and reflection.
We've ordered up some extra chaos today, so yeah.
And lots of reflections about sort of like life and creativity and inspiration. And as one of my friends recently informed us, fashion? Is this a fashion podcast?
We were both quite surprised.
Yes.
At that.
We were.
Are we fashionistas?
Is this a fashion lifestyle blog?
Are we influencers?
No. I don't think so.
No, really not.
I was like, all the other ones I could consider influencer.
No, that's okay.
So we're coming to you from Southern Ontario, and if this is your first time tuning in, welcome. We have a tendency to go on for a while, so
it's a good disclaimer.
Yeah.
It's
just
good
so
that you're putting that in there.
We'll be here for a while, and so whether you watch this in segments or all the way through, see if you can get like 1% more comfortable, like get a bevy, maybe get some knitwear. We're on with your dishes or your laundry. Enjoy.
Yes.
So today we have a lot of sweaters in front of us.
We have a lot of sweaters in front of us, and then they've spilled out onto the floor too. So we shall see how many
we go through. Yeah. So we have a couple of sort of new knits. But I think last podcast or the podcast before, we were sort of talking about bringing on old knits, and in particular, we're actually 2 months late for the trend of like everything I knit in 2022, and so we're not going to do that. But what we do have is a very large collection of basic stockinette sweaters that we thought we'd do a little try on and show and tell to sort of talk about the different constructions, and also to because we want to try on each other's sweaters, and also sort of show how a sweater changes depending on sort of the body that it lands on, and like the ease and the construction, and then sort of how we might style it or pair it with different things. So
yeah, although I think the styling side, we're both going to be in black leggings.
Black leggings.
So, but yeah, we've mentioned this before, but it's always interesting to us that we knit the same size, but we're very different people. Like, I'm not sure how tall you are. I'm 5'9". 5'2". So there's a significant difference in terms of our bodies. And yet, and so some things look good on me that don't work on you, some things that don't work on me look amazing on you, and then some things look great on both of us, but in very different ways.
Yeah, and so I thought that it would be fun for us to sort of play a little bit around sort of saying, okay, so yes, a lot of the stuff that a lot of the sizing or a lot of the choices that we make around our knits, I tend to think about like ease and bust size, because we knit lots of things, but mostly garments.
Yes.
And sort of illustrate how it's, of course, about that, but also about some stuff that, because I'm not an influencer and I'm not actually have no background in fashion design or anything like that, don't really understand how fit happens, but we thought that maybe that might be fun. But we'll leave that to the end of the podcast to do a big long show and tell, and
as we've enticed you and set it all up.
Yeah,
hopefully we actually follow through. Because it could easily be that it's 2.5 hours and we're just finishing our FOs.
And
then it'll be next time.
Yeah, but I am so excited to be back here, because it feels like it's been a really, really long time.
Jackie's had a rough January.
January was not great on the health and wellness front, and so I do actually feel like a certain portion of my January was just like deleted out due to my being like asleep and feverish and really tired.
Yes.
But I'm so happy to be here, and you know, there are actually a lot of reflections that came out of that time around sort of the reason why I knit.
Yes.
Right.
Well, when I heard that you were so sick you weren't knitting, that was serious. Like I was like how sick must you be to not be able to pick up? Like that's
yeah, it was a really interesting. Well, it was a really interesting reflection about sort of what's the motivation and the momentum behind our knitting practice, our creativity practice. Like where does the like gas that drives the engine sort of come from? And so it was a real reflection for me in terms of, for me, the relationship between like creativity and the feeling of vitality, right? Because there's like, I mean, so I'm totally fine. I'm healthy.
Yay.
It wasn't, you know, it wasn't fun, but I also wasn't dying, right? Like it wasn't a serious illness. It was just a virus that really took me down, really knocked me down.
Yeah.
But really interesting to just actually observe in that cycle of like losing some vitality and then having not very much vitality and then emerging and like recollecting vitality, the relationship between like my knitting and my creativity and what my knitting did for me. And so we'll talk a little bit about that in the FOs, because
Amazing.
For me, life and knitting are really intertwined.
Yes.
And our creativity practice and our knitting practice is, for me at least, can be a real mirror that sort of shows us perhaps how we are and where we are in sort of life, and our energy and our emotions, and I find that there's a real joy in having the tangibility of that.
Yes.
To observe.
Love that.
Yeah.
It's interesting, and I'm sure we'll get into it, but I just wanted to say, like, my son, who's 11, asked me the other day if I was ever tired of knitting. And I realized I do not recall a time I have ever decided, like, that's enough knitting for today. I'm bored. Like, I don't think I could knit for, I mean, I could knit until my hands hurt and I had to stop. But I've never had to stop because I didn't want to knit. Like, I actually, and I'm a person that gets bored pretty easily in different things. So it's really surprising. Like, there's something about knitting that just like, I have never not wanted to knit, ever. That's it's really never not brought like joy to me to like think about picking up needles. And
do you always have a desire to be with your needles?
I don't reflect well enough like you do, but I must, because I always want them. I always want knitting in my hands.
Yeah, I don't have that, which is really surprising. I mean, it's rare that I'm like, you know, it would be terrible if you gave me some wool and 2 sticks that I would be like, oh, this is the worst day ever. Like, I never have that experience, but I do have the experience of like really wanting to knit and then being fine not to knit. And then I have some periods where, like, I mean, if we always film at Carmen's house. If we ever came to my house, you would just see like an explosion of fiber and wool everywhere. And sometimes I can be around it and I don't have the urge to sort of pick up and actually be knitting.
Wow.
What I will say is that I always have the urge to be dreaming about knitting. So the process of like thinking about color and garments and like that doesn't stop, but the actual act of picking up the needles and spending the time doing that, I realize there's a rhythm there. It's not consistent for me, although it's consistent for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Never ever ending. Maybe that's why I was so shocked when you were too sick to knit, because I was like if I can lift my hands. I would even try knitting like lying down if I
did try. I will tell you,
hard on your arms.
It was very uncomfortable to do this.
Yes.
But I did try. And it was funny because there was this like period of being really ill and then this like slow climb out of illness. And my husband would come home and he would be like, how are you feeling today? And I just did not have a good subjective measure because it was kind of like up and down and it depended on what I'd done that day. And he basically stopped asking the question and started tracking my knitting.
I love that.
He was like,
good man.
yeah, you're good. You're on the up and up. And then there was like a
How
day
many
where
rows
like
did you do
no
today?
progress was happening. He's like, are you okay? Like, do we need to go back to soup? You know? So
Oh, I love it.
I'll invite you to just, as we blather on about knitting but not about knitting, which
This is
we
what
do
we
a
do.
lot of.
So
It's
yeah.
like 4 finished objects, 2.5 hours podcast.
yes.
To maybe take the time to sort of reflect and contemplate for yourself, like what's the rhythm of your knitting practice and sort of what propels you to knit, what do you love about it? And I think that these moments of, you know, reflection and these moments of taking a pause away from our creative practice can really tell us about our creative practice. So, great. You want to get into some stuff? Like, what are you wearing?
Well, we could kind of do a combo intro, right? So we're both wearing our Lentos. Are they, is it just
sweaters?
Lento? Does it have Lento sweater?
Lento pullover?
Lento
No, I
jumper?
don't know.
Something like this. So Lento, if you haven't heard of it already, was in Lina magazine issue 11, I think. It was a summer.
Looking at it.
Good. All of this info is going to come. And, for once, I'm going to remember to say, because Jackie always remembers, all the info is going to be in our show notes, which you get with that little, like, well, it depends on, I guess, if you're on your phone or laptop, but there should be a place that says see more or has a little arrow down, and you just click on that, and then everything that we talk about should be there. And so you're not going to unfortunately see any beautiful like graphics popping up that say like Lento by like Jana Hitala here, like, because we don't know how to do that, and we just do one take.
One shot.
This
wonder.
is one take, and then we literally upload it right away. Like, that's how we do. So there's none of that, but everything will be in the show notes below.
So this was a pattern that was published in Lina magazine issue 11. It is available for individual purchase, and it's spelled Lento, and the designer's name is Jonna Heitala. And this is part of the Let's Lento Knit Along. We knit it as part of the Let's Lento Knit Along,
Yes.
which is being hosted by Amy Palko of The Meaningful Stitch and Rebecca from the Crayabea Knitting Podcast, and we'll link all that stuff below. And if you're not yet aware of this knit along, if you're not yet aware of those two amazing forces of knitting and creativity and inspiration, check them out.
Definitely.
For sure.
They're both amazing.
Yeah.
And both Scottish, and just delights to listen to and watch. And now I love them even more because they inspired me to actually knit the sweater. And my journey in this sweater, funny enough, is again like these funny sweaters. Like our last podcast, you had one of the sweaters you were showing. I didn't have a reaction immediately to wanting to knit it. This was the same. I don't know. It wasn't that I didn't like it, but I was like, nah, like, I don't know. And then people started knitting it, and I was like, oh, well, like, you know, maybe I should, but it just kept being on the back burner. But this KAL was finally, well, it was this KAL, and then it was also finding out that Ginger Twist Studios in Edinburgh, Scotland, was making kits for this sweater, and the kits happened to be with wool. Well, actually, it's not. Is alpaca wool? Like, do you call that?
I do.
Okay.
Is that fair?
Yarn.
Somebody tell us.
Yes,
is
please.
alpaca still wool, or is wool exclusive to sheep?
Yes.
Yak wool?
Yeah, is it yak wool, like goat? Like, is cashmere
wool?
like wool?
Fiber. The fiber.
Hey,
Tell
Lily.
us below.
Lily's like, I want to be part of this. Yeah, so I already had, so you can go back to the stories behind this, and we talked about it a bit last time, but I had bought some skeins of this beautiful alpaca linen silk blend for me in this colorway Lallybrock, and for Jackie in Poison Apple. And that was last summer, and we hadn't figured out what to do. Jackie only had I could only get her 2 skeins. I had 3, but in any case, I saw this Ginger Twist. She had put that particular yarn in her kits with some mohair, and I was like, oh my god,
This is it.
this is it. This is it. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Let's Lento.
Let's Lento. That's right. So
Here we are.
So here we are. Yes. What? Oh, so maybe I want to start by saying, I mean, it's going to be hard because, well, we can try to maybe stand up. I feel like these are both the same sweater. I feel like they look very different. Like when Jackie first walked in, I was like, is this the Lento? Because it's we've done very different things
Yeah.
with it. Now, my different thing in terms of us was to just follow the pattern. So I didn't change anything. So that's the different part for me. So I just followed everything to the letter. And even though this was quite thin yarn, like, so it's a very light fingering. Yeah, you can see there. It's very, very thin. And then of course, because it's alpaca and linen and silk, it's like, it's not poofing up at all. So you have a very, very thin fiber, and then with the mohair. So, but I use the same needles that they recommended. So I don't know if you can see how big my gauge is. Do you see? Oh, there, that shows pretty well. It's very light. It's very drapey. I knit all to the same specifications that they suggested. Mm. And it's, to me, a perfect spring sweater. And when I was in England last summer, when it wasn't 40 degrees and I was able to wear sweaters, the sweater I wore the most was my Transcend sweater by Unwind Knitwear, which is a Surrey. So it was just that lightness in a lace weight. And I know that this is just one of those things when it's hot, but you're a little bit cold, you want to just throw it on, and it just feels so lovely.
Did you hold it with mohair? So you held it with a mohair?
I did, yes. So the mohair was Shibui Silk Cloud.
What? Me too! We haven't had a conversation about this.
Of course it was.
Yeah.
And I should grab it, like, the color was really perfect. Like, I should have shown the two together, but like, I was like, oh my God, this is meant to be. Meant to be. I love it so much. The one thing I will say in terms of this one is that, oh, so you can see, when you have dogs, little dogs, especially this one with really long claws, they get caught, like, it's like wearing a net. So it basically can get caught really quickly. But then I just kind of pull it out, and it's a dark color, so you don't really see.
I love this version on you. I also love this color. I feel like this is like Carmen's color. This is your color.
It is. I cannot get enough of this color, as we know. And I hope you like it, because on this side of the couch for the next few months, it's going to only be this color, I think, because that seems to be all I'm buying.
I'm also like that, though. I tend to sort of move through color stories. It's like I'll have a period where it's like all about, this, and then all about that, and this year is also going to have a theme. Not today, but as I look at sort of the things that are coming on my needles and the fiber that sort of made its way over to me, I'm like, oh, they're all the same color.
You get to the point where you're like, should I buy something else? And I try, and then I end up going back and getting the thing anyway.
Yeah, I mean, what I think what I've been playing around with is the idea of like, maybe like letting myself get two garment quantities and like two garment quantities and accessory quantity, because I wonder with like the speed of my knitting, by the time I sort of, if I buy 5 sweaters quantities of gray, at the end of the 5 garments, am I gonna be sick of gray? Answer no.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think we get sick of gray. Gray is just gray is perfect.
Yeah.
I love gray.
But sort of thinking about some of these more like less neutral colors.
Yeah, more dynamic
neutral,
colors.
or like this really, I think this
is
still
neutrally
neutral,
Yeah.
But yeah.
So that's my version. But now talk about your
So
beauty.
I cannot knit a pattern without making modifications.
I love that.
So I really did actually follow the pattern mostly. What the modifications that I sort of made were around gauge.
Yes.
So Carmen, do you know, like, your gauge is probably really close to pattern, right? The pattern gauge is 15 by 21. If
yeah,
I look at
that sounds
it
about
sounds
right.
about right.
Yeah.
And for me, it actually started with a collar. So in the pattern, I think you do a provisional cast on and then you pick up the collar and then you seam it down. Is that what you do?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah. So I hate seaming. And so
it's not just seaming, you just knit it down. Like you just...
Oh, you knit it down.
Yeah. Like, so it's provisional and then you just like pick up that stitch,
right.
I think.
Well, I don't know.
That's how I usually do it.
But how I tend to do it is I tend to sort of, so I did a German twisted cast on, then I knit the ribbing, and then it's folded down, And what I do, Andrew Mowry has a beautiful tutorial on how to do it, but you basically fold it down and knit it together. You sort of do knit 2 togethers, and then you're sort of like in the yoke.
That's how isn't that how this was?
We're such good podcasters.
Yeah, we're
I have
awesome.
no idea.
I thought that's what I did. If it was provisional, that's how I always do it. Where you just pick up
So here,
the purl bump and then you just knit them together?
Yes, that's what I did, but in the pattern, it suggests that you use a piece of scrap yarn and do a provisional cast on, which is not a skill that I have mastered. And also a skill that I wasn't sure about because of fluffy yarn. I was like, how's this gonna go with like a fluff with like the mohair fluff? So
yes.
Anyhow, I did it the way that I wanted to, and I knit this collar 3 times. Because I really wanted it to sort of sit high and be tight to the neck.
It is beautiful up that high.
Right? And so I sort of knit it, and then I tried it on, and knit it and tried it on, and like the first time when I sort of went by the pattern, it was like, it started like here, it was large, and so I sort of kept getting small, like I got it until I was happy with the way that it sat here, and then I was at a needle size, and then I just went up 2 needle sizes from the ribbing for the body, and so I ended up with a gauge that's actually like 17.5 by 24. So it's a lot smaller a gauge, but it still, I think, has that quality of like lightness, and it's a little bit like, I'm wearing a black tank top and you can sort of see it. So it's not like there's a little bit of translucency in it,
but not the same like netting basically.
And this, oh my God, this fabric, I just want to knit everything out of this fabric now.
I know.
It like, it's amazing, and the combination of it is amazing. And then what was really exciting and fun for me in this particular knit was I feel like I have entered into the rabbit hole of beautiful yarn and then the ability to paint with mohair.
Yes.
Right? So
yes,
I was a little unsure about this, but I'm really grateful for my knitting friends.
There were a few
messages of being like,
you do it. It sounds amazing.
So this is the original colorway of Poison Apple, which is just absolute perfection. Now, I did go on a hunt of trying to find a mohair that had the same quality of red, and like, man, there are a bajillion different types of red. There are. And I picked up, you know, a skein, a couple skeins to sort of match, and I just wasn't super happy with the match. And what I kept coming back to was this gorgeous skein. This is Shibui Knits Silk Cloud in the colorway Lotus.
Oh, and I love its lotus too.
Yeah.
It's a flower.
And I, you know, putting them side by side like this, I was like, is it okay? Am I gonna obscure the gorgeousness of what is already a perfect colorway? And maybe I've shifted it, but I feel I'm so happy with the color that that I ended up with.
It's beautiful.
And I just am so delighted by it. Originally I was gonna call it like my poison apple Lento, and I feel like it's a poison pomegranate.
Oh, that's true. Right? It's perfection. I mean, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful, and I think I've also struggled with the same thing, like with mohair. Like I actually love a mohair in my knit. Like it's just a lovely feel. And one thing I do with it, again, distracted always, but you know, people talk about being allergic to things. Some people are allergic to these things, but the prickly sensation, if you can persevere, your body will eventually like acquiesce and be like,
you can build up tolerance to mohair.
Seriously, I don't have any prickle anymore with mohair, whereas I used to. I would have it for the first little bit of wearing a sweater, and then it would be easier.
Like prickle, or you're just like aware of the sensation?
Prickle.
Yeah,
it would take
in the like sensitive places, like this is a sensitive place and that's a sensitive place and so on.
And now I don't get it. To be fair though, I remember like when I first started knitting, well no, because some mohairs, like the percentage of mohair, this happens to be I think a 60-40 silk mohair split. So it's gonna be less mohair than most things are like 72-28. But anyway, sorry, I just like digressed there. But just persevere if you want to have wool, and if you want to have mohair, and whatever's making you prickly, just keep going.
You know, I think the other thing actually around that is that I'm like my awareness of mohair is variable, and a lot of people talk about sort of heat that as you get warmer, that sometimes something that has a sensation of prickle, the prickle will increase. But you know what I find with mohair, aside from sort of playing with different sources of mohair, is the gauge.
Interesting.
That I find that if I knit mohair at a looser gauge knit, it is less prickly. Whereas there have been some things that I've knit where it's like a really tight gauge with mohair, and the fabric that it creates somehow, like, I think enhances the sensation. I don't know if that's actually true or not, but that's my experience around mohair.
It's so funny because I actually have, because we pulled these out, we will maybe talk about this later, but this was the first sweater I knit with mohair. Oh God, I wish I were Spellbound, I think, or Spellman. It's by Dragon Horde Yarn.
That sweater.
Tristan. Ugh, I did not prepare. Well, I don't ever prepare, but I really didn't prepare for this. But we're gonna put it down. This was the beginning of my knitting journey, and I test knit this for her.
What?
Yes.
The beginning of your knitting journey was a test knit, of course.
Yeah, I know. Well, my return to knitting. I didn't know how to knit, but this was when I really got it. Anyway, I'm digressing. This is such a beautiful sweater, by the way. Like, it's got, I wonder if it is like a saddle shoulder.
Yeah,
it is a saddle.
Is it a saddle shoulder or is it a raglan?
Well, it's a raglan with a saddle. I don't know if it's a saddle. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just a raglan with
it's a raglan with a down the side detail, I would say.
This version didn't actually have any short rows. She's updated it since, but I actually love the fit of this, and it sits like really high up on my neck, and it gives kind of a boxy look, which I really love. I'm totally digressing. The whole point of pulling this out is that this was the one that prickled me. I was like, oh my God, I would prickle with this. And maybe I'm even feeling it's a little prickly, but to your point, that's a much tighter gauge. Like, that's a lot quicker, a lot tighter.
Yeah.
Than this one. So maybe there's something about that.
I also, my preference is Surrey.
Yeah,
but Surrey is less available in, like, just in terms of different colors than mohair. Yeah. And also Surrey tends to be sort of thicker.
It's thicker, yeah.
It's thicker.
And not as vibrant. It sucks the dye in a different way.
Yeah,
it doesn't,
because
mohair has.
It's not as shiny, I feel like. But I've been sort of hearing little bits and bobs, I'm just reading, that there is now there's now Surrey that's becoming available that's like equivalent to mohair in terms of grist.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
That it's like skinnier.
By the way, you get 10 points for using grist. I hope Brittany's watching and is like, Jackie,
yeah, grist. So yeah, what else do I want to say about this sweater? I think the sweater was also, this is definitely outside of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
In terms of colors, but I
go back to our first few episodes when it was like nothing, like she was all the neutrals, which you still love the neutrals, but this is, and I take credit a little bit, not for the pink, but because this was the skein that jumped out, and I said Jackie needs it, even when I was like, this makes no sense, because I know she doesn't even like strong colors.
I love it so much. I think I knit the third size to compensate for my smaller gauge. The finished bust size is 38. I knit a bracelet length, and then it's probably like a little bit cropped. And this blew my mind. I used 660 yards of mohair, and whatever 800 yards minus 273 yards is. Like, I didn't use the full two skeins of fingering, which I'm really excited about, because I'm like, I want to use this up to make an accessory that's just like this on its own.
Just the poison apple. I love that.
To have the experience of it, because I actually really love the idea of like a tonal matching.
Yes.
Right? To like do a hat or to do a headband.
I love it.
But I love this sweater. It is gorgeous. It feels amazing, and I will love it because of the story that's inside it, right? Because it's from Ginger Twist. It's yarn from Edinburgh. Carmen got it for me. I felt really like, I was like, oh, there's like Amy and Rebecca and Carmen that's sort of in this knit, and so that will always have meaning and significance to me. And this was the thing that I knit sort of as I was coming out of that like no vitality place.
Yes.
And it was like the brightness and the vigor of it just sort of like lifted me up at a time that I was like zombie style, trying to return to life.
Absolutely.
And so
you know, Amy Palco had the same. I think she was sick, I think, with COVID, and this was the knit that brought her out.
Yeah.
Too. It is a perfect knit for that. Like it is I remember somebody on my I think an Instagram post pointed out that it's like a 2-page pattern. Like the entire pattern is 2 pages. Like it's so simple.
There's some short rows and then it's basic raglan.
Yeah. But and even a raglan it's like a, well, I don't know if you can say like the type of raglan, but it's very simple. Even like the increases are super simple, and there is just something about it that I'm like, this is whatever it is, it's perfect proportions. Like it's whatever they suggest, it's just a perfect proportion sweater, and I'm going to make many of these because I feel
like I see the world, I see like my stash through the eyes of the Lento pattern now. I'm like, that one and that one and that one and that one.
I know. I'm gonna make a black one.
I'm also really excited about the idea of that I was able to make a sweater with the like 660 yards, because it means that there was a period of time that I was buying sort of 2 skeins of Surrey, and I was like, I don't know if 2 skeins of Surrey alpaca I can use for a garment, or if this is going in the like shawl section of my stash. But now it's possible. And I think the other thing that's really nice about the Lento sweater, especially if you go to the hashtag Let's Lento, is that it's so modifiable. Like you can work with your, and because it's top down, like you can work with your yardage. You can do 3/4 sleeves if you don't have as much in terms of yardage. You can crop it, you can stripe it, you can fade it. Like again, it's just this open invitation for creativity and for like playing inside of your stash. But I think, what did Amy say that I was like, this is exactly what it was for me. It was like it's like a gentle companion knit.
Oh, it is. It is.
So this is what's interesting to me around the creativity piece, and sort of just observing how my craft was sort of reflecting how I was that I didn't have the additional vitality to be thinking about a pattern, or even the extra energy that it takes to knit a pattern that has new techniques in it, or knit a pattern in a yarn that you're not familiar with, and so it's like, how is this gonna block out? Like, how is this gonna end up showing up? And I was like,
or color work with twisting balls, like everything's all together. It's
all those things. It was just so easy. But the what sort of carried me through, in addition to the symbolism and the meaning, and just thinking about being surrounded by people as I was like convalescing, was the dynamism of the color. I typically don't work with a lot of hand-dyed yarns because variegated is a beautiful look, but not something that I find myself drawn to. And this was like this perfect, there's a little variegation, there's a little tonal, the consistency of the mohair, and I just kept gazing into it. And it seems like, to me, it's like a jewel. It's like a jewel, like a ruby or a pink sapphire.
It is.
And one of the things that I have been really engaged in terms of study in the past 2 years is like archetype, and particularly goddess archetype. I mean, we've talked about this, but I was like, this is my Persephone sweater. Because I was like coming out from the underworld of like this, like the haze of and pomegranates. So yeah, it's my Persephone's poison pomegranate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it too.
So here are our lentos.
Yay! And we would love to see yours every time I hear other people are making, like, I honestly just tag me please on Instagram, because I just want to see.
Right? Keep looking.
Yeah, I should just look on the Let's Lento over and over. But it's so nice to just have it pop up in my feed with somebody like a new one, and then I'm like, oh, like I gotta make that one. And you make it in like a few days. And mine, I should have said, yeah. No, like
really?
No, I'm saying I don't think this.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it's a
huge
big gauge.
Like I should have measured mine, but mine's even less than what you're saying, because which makes sense, because I have, like, it's just such a bigger gauge. Like, you're basically
cropped it too, right?
I cropped it here and here. So and I knit the size 2. I said that as I was scratching my nose and didn't, so that, I don't know if that came through. Size 2 is what I knit. Yeah.
I love it.
I think we could talk about this forever. We should maybe stop.
Can I try yours on?
Yes.
We'll switch around.
I was thinking the same thing. Here, I guess I'll stand up too. Whoosh. Oh my gosh, you do have such a higher neck. Sorry, everyone. We'll be right back.
Oh, this feels amazing.
Oh, Jackie, oh God.
Oh,
see,
it feels
I
amazing.
should not let you try my knits on because then I want to give them to you. Oh, oh my
it's
gosh.
such a different look now.
This is what I'm saying. Like, look. Oh my gosh.
Okay, now I need to knit a second one in this looser.
Looser, like, I'm sorry, look at that. I have not done all of my little things.
You
That
have
looks
ends
gorgeous.
and I have stitch markers. I
But
have stitch markers and everything still.
Look at how much smaller, like the same size. This looks like a massive, like,
Well, it's definitely
sweatshirt.
larger, I think. The arms are larger.
They are larger.
And the bust size is definitely larger.
Yeah. But it's just
Finish
like,
bust
it's
size.
amazing how it can look so different.
Oh, but it feels so good.
It feels so good. This one feels so good. We're just gonna caress
Yeah,
ourselves
we're just
here,
gonna
sorry.
ourselves.
But look
I
at
do
the
love that high collar.
It's
I
so
love the high collar.
great.
I've been on a mission for high collars, as you'll see, as some of my other sweaters pop
You
up.
would have also, just in terms of your mods, because you would have decreased. I don't think I decreased. And then
I did
right
decrease.
at the end, yeah, because right at the end, I made it smaller. Like, I think you reduced them right at the end and makes it kind of like a bell kind of sleeve.
You totally decreased the sleeves in the pattern.
Did I? Did I?
I don't know if you did. Did you?
The pattern says
The
to?
pattern says so. I didn't make it. So the decreases in the sleeves are not a mod. I did actually follow the pattern. You see, you modded and you
Did
didn't
I get
even know
this
you
wrong?
modded.
Am I thinking, maybe I didn't. Maybe I didn't. Maybe this was, maybe I'm confusing because I was also knitting my pressed flowers.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, but see, this is the thing. This is how, okay, a simple stockinette sweater
Yes.
has so many, it allows you to play with dimensions until you sort of find your fit.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
Right?
Oh, it's so
Oh
pretty.
my God, the like, I want this to be a shawl, actually.
Well, it
The way that I
feels like it.
feel about it, like it just, it's like I want it
Yeah.
draped
But
across.
I
it's
think
gorgeous.
that's why, because of that very loose gauge, like there's something really comforting, an area about it that feels like a shawl.
Yeah.
This makes me feel really put together. Like I feel like I want to sit up straighter.
So my intention with that was, with that knit was having a knit that was like a little bit more on the dressy side.
Yeah, like you
there's
could wear
a
to
lot
work
I
and
could
stuff
wear to
because
work.
it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
My intention was to knit it over the course of Lunar New Year
Aww.
for it to be sort of my
it's perfect color
Lunar
for
New
that,
Year
too.
sweater, but it didn't happen.
No, close enough. Close enough. Beautiful.
All right.
All right. So,
Oh my God. We're at 38 minutes.
see, we told you. Don't say we didn't warn you.
Yeah. What do you want to show next?
I'm wondering if I should show, although
Yes.
now I don't know if this is going to work. So,
Do you want your sweater back?
no, I will just talk, and then I'm just going to actually take, I'm going to take I'm going to take the skirt off, but I'm going to show you.
Oh.
Okay, here we go. Okay, hold on. You can see this is a work in progress, but it's a little skirt. See, a little big, but anyway. It's like I'm showing it and now I'm gonna take it off. Hang on one sec. Because there's something weird about taking off a skirt. Even though I'm wearing pants underneath, it just seemed weird. Okay,
It's so cute.
this is, so let's start by saying I did finally finish something for our own KAL. It was looking kind of dire that I might not have. I had that hat way back, but I felt like it's my KAL, like, you know, or I'm part of this KAL, I should make something a little bit better. Yeah, and here, Jackie can quickly remind, oh, she'll come back. This is what she made, and so I'm like, come on, Carmen, step up. So I do have a sweater still coming, but we'll see whenever that gets done. But my love, oh, see. Oh, how
Now we're in
beautiful
KAL
that is.
outfit.
KAL outfit, oh my God, look how gorgeous. See, I get distracted by her. She looks so good. Yes, so we know, I'm sure if you've been with us, you know my love for Miss Evil, Evil Knits on Instagram. She creates recipes that she gives out for free, and she encourages people to just play with like your creativity. Like here's a way to start, here's a framework that you can use, and then like adapt it. So she came out, like this was back actually in November, she started talking about making a skirt, and I was like, I want a skirt. And now I really feel like I'm so glad I made a skirt, and now I need to make a million more. And every person has to make a skirt because your bum wants you to make a skirt. It's so cozy.
Yeah.
Our thighs and our bums get nothing, none of this beauty, none of this like nice toastiness. They get denim, or at least in my case. So I was like, yes, I'm definitely gonna make a skirt. But it took me a few months to finally do it. Annalise, you can look up, I don't know if you will. Annalise, Miss Evil, her original is a very different skirt actually than this, which I feel really excited. Like I really feel like it demonstrates her plan in the world, right? Like, which is just like, here you go, here's something, but then explore. And I really was able to do that, and I felt really comfortable doing that. Hers is the same top, but then her original skirt she ribbed, and so it was just a big ribbed skirt and went down to her knees. I'm a big fan of, I like a mini skirt. I like a knit mini skirt, and so I was like, oh, I know that I want to make that. And then I was like, and I need to make something with the KAL, and I might as well do that. Sorry, I think I've got mohair flying all over me, so everything's itchy on my face. I was like, well, I can make it into a color work and use the KAL, and everything will be amazing. Everything will be amazing. So
beautiful.
It is. I'm jumping around, but this is my first time really understanding on a small level what it must be like to be a designer, like, because I'm pretty sure they don't just have things work out perfectly right off the bat, right? Like, so when we get these patterns, like they've tried and probably changed things and made a few prototypes beforehand,
edits and tests
and edits and ripping out and coming back. And so this was my first time really having that, because I didn't have anybody who had already done that work. So Annalise's skirt was beautiful, and I would make one of those, but I knew I wanted to make a mini. Oh yeah, did you want to show?
Yeah, I did. So this is, how do I do this to make it work?
Good job.
Oh, here we go. So this is the Varm pattern by Miss Evil Knits, and that's her original. Yeah, coming up. Yeah.
Lovely. And you can find, as I say, this is on her blog for free. And it's open now. So everybody can write now. Yeah. Everybody now can start making it. So I want to cast this on. I decide I haven't knit in Nutiden enough for a while. I needed a Nutiden fix. So I was like, easy, gonna do this. And I grabbed some, this gray color, which is called Adekvat, which means adequate in English, but I think in our adequate to us is kind of like, it's adequate. In Swedish, it's more of like, it's adekvat, like it's good, it's got a good feel to it. Yeah. So I was like, well, perfect, I'll just do this, and then I'll figure out my color, contrast color after. You start by making a tube for the top.
It's like a double knit.
It's a double knit tube that you can't really see here, but you start, and then you just basically make it as long as
like
it needs to be. Like a waistband. It is, yeah. So it is a waistband at the top. If you can see that there. See there? So I had a tattoo that I was getting, and it was like, I had another 5 hours to go on it. And so I was like, I'll bring my tube, because it's, however many stitches around, and then I would just knit. But I didn't bring any kind of tape measure. And so I was like, oh, as I'm knitting, I'm like, I don't know, and I was making it bigger and bigger, and I was trying it on, but it needed to stretch over, and I was getting nervous. Long story short, I made it really big.
Because presumably it needs to have negative ease. Like, you have to find the perfect amount of negative ease.
Yes. In
order for the skirt to stay put.
To stay put, but you also have to get over, I'm sure most people are much wider. You have to get over your hips. So it has to go over your hips and your bum. but then it has to come up. Now, I wasn't planning on wearing it at like my natural waist. Like my plan was to wear it a little bit lower on my hips anyway, but I just kept like second guessing, and maybe it was the endorphins or something from the tattoo that was hurting, and I was just like, I just kept knitting. And then, so then I ended up with it, I'm like, fine. Then you pick up from, and I'm sure this is fine because Miss Evil gives this for free, so it's okay to talk about this, but you pick up the bottom of your tube to make the stitches, and then you go down. So even there, this was in there, there's another decision point, right? Because I'm like, do I pick up every single one? Do I pick up every other? Like, how many stitches do I pick up? And I, again...
It's like, what's the circumference that you want for your skirt?
Exactly. Right. Now, if I had thought this through and was not as, like, reckless as my usual, I would have actually... Swatched. I would have done any math, like, even a little bit of math. No math. Nothing. I was just like, nah, just pick it up. So I just picked up all of them. So I ended up...
one-to-one.
And it was already too big for me to begin with, and then I picked it up. So anyway, then the reason you're knitting actually a double band is because you, in case you want to put an elastic in.
Okay.
Plus, I actually think it makes a really nice, like...
It's a beautiful, like, it's a beautiful line. Like,
yes.
It just looks so nice.
It looks so nice, and it has a really nice just way of lying, right, that way. So anyway, so that was there. So I had this open, and then I had picked up things, and then there was a bit of a gap here, and I just had this idea of like casting on 5 more stitches to close it in case. So I was just like, oh well, I'll just do a little, like, some backwards loop just in case I need some room here. And then I was like, ooh, maybe I'll make that like a seam. So I had like purled in those. So I kept doing this, and then I purled in here thinking like, oh, that's kind of cool. It's an interesting thing. I kept going, I don't know if I really like it, but of course I don't want to pull out. So I just kept going with that. So I ended up there, and then I started the color work down here, and
so cute.
It is cute. I know, it's super cute. I love it. I'm gonna make this again. I ended up using Tallbark, and okay, this is coming out more brown, but in person, maybe it's more. Did you see that?
There.
It's pink. But Tallbark, Tallbark, whenever I've ever looked at it before, it was always very brown with a little red in it, but like not a pinkiness. Now I see pink, funny enough. But at the time, it used to be brown. I thought I was doing brown and gray, but as soon as I started knitting with this, I was like, oh, it has this like pink, like the gray brought out the pink.
I was wondering what this color was when I saw it. I was like, what is it? I pride myself on knowing my Nutiden colors by sight. But
but Nutiden does this, right? Where you put it with changes the whole thing. So yeah, so I was very happy with that. Keep on knitting, and then I got down. I hope this is interesting to people, but this was my whole like
process.
It was a process. I knit this. I went down to the peacock feather, and then I should only have a little bit of the kind of checkerboard part here. But by this point, I kept trying it on, and I was like, no, it's not long enough. Ironic, so it's too big wide, but it's not long enough. So I just kept doing more checkerboard. And then when I got down there, I was like, okay, well now I need to start the ribbing, because at the beginning I had this idea that I would make a high-low hem. So like I decided to split. See, there's a split there. And then I was gonna do this part lower, the bum. Oh, and I put there are some short rows actually in here too, to kind of try to make it the same. I think I originally did it with this color, but then that felt like a weird band. So then I decided to make it the Tallbark as the bottom, which I do, yeah. But this is the process of creativity, right? Like, it's like you try, and I mean, if I had pulled out, it would have been even better. But in these cases, I was like, okay, but I did. I had to pull out actually a lot of the ribbing.
Rip out the ribbing. Yeah.
The ribbing, yeah. And then do the Tallbark, but I'm really satisfied with that. I think doing it again, I would not make this such a straight line. I think I would do a bit more like I would play with the color work a little bit and make it a little bit, like extend some of them and keep the other ones down, so it's not so
not a straight line that you kind of get a zigzag.
Yeah.
Which if you check the hashtag inspired by LentoKAL, you'll see that people worked with this motif in all different kinds of ways and sort of treated it differently, and it creates a totally different look.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A
couple people did that zigzag.
I like, I think I would have probably done that one. But anyway, but I love this.
I love it.
I love this. So then I did this low, this one I extended actually a lot. No. Yes, I think I extended even longer than this, but then I think I had to pull this part too to make it higher to get it to be the right length. But it is the right length for me now.
And the proportion is perfect. This is one of Carmen's like magic tricks, is that you have such a good sense of proportion in terms of like, you just know, okay, now it's time to stop. Now I'm gonna extend the ribbing, and I know that it seems easy because we just come on with a finished object and that actually you play with it a million times, but I think the proportion is amazing and it looks so good. It's also proportionate on your body.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is a nice thing about knitting a recipe, right? Like, I mean, knitting any pattern you can do this, but especially a recipe, you really are trying it on and figuring it out and seeing if you like it. And so I did that. I had the split, I put it on, and it was so big. It was so big. I'm trying to remember if my pictures, no, I think, my pictures were even after I cut it. It was bigger even than this, and it's too big for me still. But I want to say what I did. I had a lot of things. I was like, what am I gonna do? Because where am I gonna cut it? Like, how am I gonna make this small? I thought about like felting, like quasi felting it a little bit, like trying to shrink it in the dryer, but then I was a little bit like scared about that. What I ended up deciding is, if you remember at the back, this is where the tube comes together and then everything was in the round. And I had this like, this purl seam, but once I got down here, it was kind of a weird thing because I had to keep like the purl seam and that, so I changed like the color. It was just, it didn't look great. I didn't love that part. And I was like, well, I need to make this smaller. And I'm like, ultimately it's just a long scarf if I need to. So I basically sewed, I just took it. I just folded it in half. I had a big piece of it here. I've cut this since, so that's
You cut it, you like steeped it.
Oh, no, well,
it was an unintentional, like you
yes.
just,
okay.
like it became flat piece of fabric?
No.
Okay.
Well, no, I was too scared. I could have done that, but I was too scared to do that. So instead, I took it like, I folded it like this, and I took off like an inch of each. So that's at least 2 inches right there, maybe even more. And I just sewed all the way along. Like I just sewed.
You made a seam.
Yes, a seam.
Actual seam.
Which is hilarious because I don't know what I'm doing. And actually there's even places I have to redo this, but it's okay because I need to cut it again. But anyway, I did that. But then what was left was a big bump. Like it was this long. And
I was like a fold in the fabric, right?
Yeah, just like that. So then when I would wear it, it would be sticking out. Well, it was like, what's going on with that girl's butt? Something's happening here. So then I was like, well, it's Nutiden. Like when you steek things, it's okay. But I think I cut it a bit too close. But anyway, it's actually been fine. So I literally, this is people, I just cut it. I just like took it and cut it.
I love unspun yarn.
And it's fine. And this part doesn't line up, unfortunately. But then I was like, so what? In like regular, if you buy something from a store, a lot of times patterns don't line up at the back.
Yes, I made this discovery a month and a half ago that commercial striped socks are not jogless striped socks.
Really?
Yeah, and now I can't unsee it. Every pair of striped
I guess
socks,
that makes sense.
I look at the sole and I'm like, that's not jogless. They're not jogless.
Everyone, go find some striped socks in your house right now, and then tell us if you're like, yes, Jackie, it's true, or sorry for just ruining all your socks.
I'm so sorry. Because I can't unsee it, and now every single pair of striped socks, I like check the sole.
That's funny.
And along the back of the sock.
What will you do if you find ones that are jogless? Like, will you write that company and be like, I
will buy that brand sock.
Yeah. You need to tell them that their integrity as design, you know, like that they would make sure that was jogless. If we find it, we're gonna put it on here because they deserve a heads up on that one.
If you make your own socks, your stripes can be jogless.
Yeah, mine are for sure. I don't care. But anyway, sorry, that's a long time to talk about this skirt. But I'm really excited about it because I will do it differently. Now, in addition, like these were the things I had to think about though when I was cutting it, because I'm like, okay, first of all, this pattern's not going to line up. I know that. Now I might be able to line it up a bit better because I'm cutting
you're going to take it in more.
Yeah, so I might be able to do that. What I really wanted to do actually was to sew it. Like I wanted to get my sewing machine and just sew. Like I was going to turn it and just sew it.
Yeah.
And then cut and do things like that. But apparently my sewing machine had been put into the garage and some critters got into it. And I was like, okay, no, that's going in the garbage. So that's no good. But I had, if you remember, done a split hem. So then I was like, but if I take off the back, the split hem will be in the wrong place because it's supposed to be right in the middle. Luckily, it's okay. Like if you could rewind when I was showing it. Like it's not perfect. Like it sticks out in some funny ways and it's not exactly, see, you can see it's a bit, well, it would be a bit too far back, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's okay. It's okay. But again, these were things that were in my head and I was like, what do I do? How do I like work with this? But I will make it again now because I know these different pieces. I will make it smaller. What I will also do is I held my Nutiden double. I'm next time going to hold the waistband single because it's a bit bulky when I wear it. Like my hips become a couple inches wider than normal. Well, maybe not a couple inches, but it's a different look because it's a lot thicker.
And it's notable for you, right? Like, and I think part of it is also like your awareness of the waistband being there, right? It reminds me of like sweaters where the yoke doesn't fit quite right, and aesthetically it's fine and it's not like problematic, but you're just like always aware. And then those are the sweaters that I tend not to pick up.
Yes, exactly.
Right, yeah.
It's just kind of a funny, you know, and when I wear I want a shirt that goes over it, but then there's a bit of bulk in a place that like, it just seems a little bit odd to have it. So
like see the little boop.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I do really love this technique.
Section
is so beautiful.
I mean, it's all beautiful, but like this just pleases me deeply.
Well, there you go.
It's just, oh, it's so cute.
It's so cute. I would say you should, well, I mean, you can try it on. Actually. It's going to fall. Well, here we go. It's going to literally fall right off her hips. But it's, oh yeah. It is nice with a nice, like a big sweat. Like I wore with a bulky sweater and then like a little bit coming down. Like it's, I mean, it's amazing, and I can't tell you how toasty it is, as I say, to wear things. It's like, it is like a hug around this area that doesn't get, oh, Jackie, look how cute it looks. Oh, see? That does look really good. Outfit is right. Beautiful. Outfit. It looks really good. Sometimes you need to see it on somebody else, I think, or maybe it just looks better.
Well, I mean, so... This is, the sweater that I'm wearing is knit in Adekvat. So that helps, I think.
Yes. Oh, it's so cute. I like it with those leggings. I almost wore my leggings like that. Now I wasn't sure with that skirt, but now I'm going to. I
kind of like it like this. Like this is the right proportion to me.
I love it.
It's so cute.
So cute, right? And if it was like a bit
so happy.
tight, you know, like just a little bit tighter, it would be perfect, right? Like if I just, you know, pull it in, and I'll just make another one, and maybe you'll make one.
I want to make one.
So cute.
Oh, it's so cute.
So cute. Well, that looks really great, actually. I really like that look.
I'm just gonna sit here. Yeah, cozy bum.
Yes, actually, wear this for a bit, and then when you take it off, you're gonna be like I actually feel cooler. I'm like my bum is missing.
It's sad.
It's like it's
less cozy.
It is. Yeah,
less cozy. Whew. You know what's really funny? So this is another one of those, this is the like magic of Nutiden, is that Carmen and I, sometimes we talk about our knits and sometimes we don't.
Yes.
So I had, when you were knitting this, I didn't know you were knitting it. All we knew is that we were both knitting with Adekvat, which we sort of did like organically, like coincidentally, which tends to happen a lot. And so I have been waiting for this outfit this entire time because I was like, I want to see how it looks together.
It does look amazing together.
Really cute.
And can we maybe move to because Jackie keeps wearing, I keep seeing this sweater and then I'm like, what is it? Oh my God. I love it. And I do want to say, I was under the impression that I didn't like drop shoulder construction. And I have now realized I love drop shoulder construction because every time I see it, this is drop, isn't it?
Sort of.
Or maybe it's a anyway.
Does it look familiar to you?
Is it?
Okay, so.
Oh!
This sweater.
Oh!
Okay, hang on.
No wonder.
So this, this is the Jeol Sweater by Aegyo Knits that I knit for the knit along, except I modified the motif in the original pattern and used our Inspired by Ellen knit along motif instead. Mm-hmm. And the silhouette of this sweater, I was like, this is it.
Perfect for you.
It's so perfect. I love it. I love the way that it feels. I just love it so much. And what I realized is as much as I love color work, what I love more is basic.
Yeah. What
I love more is a basic and a shawl.
Oh, that makes sense.
Right?
That makes sense.
And this, I think part of the reason I actually love this sweater so much is because it's like, it has that look, which you pointed out of like, it's like I have a color work sweater and there's like a shawl that I've like swept across. But I became obsessed with this silhouette. And so I knit this again twice as a solid. So this is the Jeol sweater.
Oh, I'm in love with this.
No color work. And Nutiden Adekvat held double. With the, I mean, do we still call this a bust size with this construction? So it's 52 inches across, so a lot of positive ease. Mm-hmm. And the way that this sweater is knit is it's top down. You knit the collar, you knit the, it's like a contiguous sleeve construction, and so you're knitting in the round and sort of creating the width. Then you split front and back, and you're knitting it separately to create like the armhole, and then you pick it back up, you join it together in the round, and then you knit the body. So this sweater sent me down a rabbit hole of like, what is a proportion that I love? Because I'm gonna put on all three versions at the same time and sort of talk about it.
I'm gonna take this.
Yeah, you can put that on.
I wanna wear that.
So one of the things, so I love this sweater, but one of the things that I noticed in looking at it on the podcast and looking at photos of me wearing it was I'm having a mock neck moment. Last session, last podcast, it was all about the shawl collar, but actually I'm like into the mock neck right now.
A mock neck.
And what I noticed is that I love this mock neck, but I like it's like real, it's wide, like there's this like gap.
Which I really like.
Which I like. And so I knit this, and then I knit my first single color version exactly to pattern. So
Like that?
Yeah.
How do you tell if it's front or back?
The other way around.
Okay.
So this
Botaniska.
is the Jeol sweater in Botaniska. And I knit it exactly to pattern. And what's so interesting, if you look at it, is that I did everything the same, in the sense that like I cast on the same number of stitches. Now, what you'll know about Nutiden is that every single colorway is a different blend, and so you end up with slightly different gauge, slightly different characteristics. And so I don't know if you can appreciate that Botaniska is a little bit loftier. It's also bulkier, and so the way that it hangs or sits is different. And the result in this version somehow is that the mock neck got even bigger.
Yep.
Do you see?
It is bigger.
It's bigger?
Yeah.
Hang on, I'm gonna take this off just because I don't know if those two go together. But I just love this silhouette. I don't know if it's a drop shoulder. Like, I don't think it's not a traditional.
No.
It has way more ease.
It's
and
almost
the drop
like a
is
square.
Really, it is like a square.
Like, yeah, when you do that, it's like a big square.
Yeah, it's a big square. And I love it so, so much. So I knit the body, and then I knit the sleeves according to pattern, and found that I actually didn't like it.
This?
No, hang on. Oh. When I knit it to pattern, like if you can see, this sleeve is straight and it's quite wide.
Yep.
But for some reason, without the motif, I felt like the proportions weren't right.
Okay.
So I ripped back the sleeves and did a really, I think I decreased like every 3 rows or every 4 rows to sort of bring it in really close to the arm.
Because originally the pattern is that it just goes straight?
Yeah.
Oh,
there's no decreases.
Gotcha.
Right, which to me in this sweater looks perfect.
Yes.
But I took the motif away and then like the proportions were all off, and so I had to like rip the arms back, and I love it sort of close to the body.
It's beautiful.
So I do want to tell like a random story about this, because so I actually knit this not a really long time ago, but I knit this in September because in September I had traveled to French Polynesia and wanted to have like a simple knit for like a travel knit. And also I do this thing where I like to have my knits match the place that I'm in. And so in French Polynesia, it's like a beautiful island that has, like if you think about like Hawaii or you think of Kauai, the landscape is that there are these like beautiful green mountains, not a fjord, but like that are really rippled. And so I was like, I want to knit a sweater that looks like Maria, and it's gonna be like my Maria sweater. So as you guys know, we've talked extensively about how Nutiden is one of our like desert island yarns. And so, you know, don't ever get caught on an island without Nutiden. It turns out
we never would. We've always got it with us.
It turns out that actually there are places in the world where you have to be careful with Nutiden
because it's too wet.
I landed in Tahiti, and then I spent most of my time on an island like off of the coast of Tahiti called Moorea. And so there's a ferry. And so I realize now why people have like knitting bags. And you know the knitting bags that allow you to have your like ball of yarn, and your ball of yarn is contained, and then there's like a little hole, and it goes
I'm like, why do people ever
why
do
would you
that?
have that? I don't have like
there's
I'm
a
not
reason
gone
for
into
this.
the knitting bag land, so I literally just have like a tote bag, and then I had my like already wound Nutiden, and I'm on the ferry just like happily knitting, and then there's a gust of wind, and this ball of Nutiden goes flying all the way. Like I've never seen, I mean like my husband and I and some of the staff on the ferry were just like in stitches, because in like this ball of Nutiden just boom, like goes the whole length of the ferry, and as the ferry is traveling with the wind, there's just like this ball that is like and this is what's happening. I'm like, oh my god, my Nutiden, I'm trying to do this. You can guess that it's
like
absolutely futile.
Oh my
because
god.
the Nutiden breaks, and then the thing is rolling, and there's just like more wool everywhere. So I apologize to the people of French Polynesia for polluting your water.
Did it go overboard?
It went overboard, and there was like me, and then this wonderful staff person who's trying to like collect it, but like,
did it float?
No, I don't know. It was just like there were just strands of Nutiden strewn
as it's going, it's leaving.
As people are trying to like
get
the thing, the thing is rolling. It it remains one of like it was like just a memorable moment on a trip that was like full of memorable moments. I had like my Nutiden on a ferry. It's too light.
There you go, folks.
It's too lofty.
There's your public service announcement.
It was the funniest thing, and then I couldn't finish my sweater because I lost my yarn.
That would be the worst part of it. Like again, back to the like, what would I be doing with my hands during this ferry ride? Oh my god!
I lost like, probably it would have been like probably like 75 grams would be my guess, and so I didn't finish my Maria colored sweater in Maria because
not meant to
the
be.
Nutiden was offered to the whales in the water.
They were looking at it going, that's a nice looking sweater. Like I think I want some of this.
Yeah, anyhow.
Maybe it was Ariel from The Little Mermaid, where she adds it to her collection. Now she's cutting wool.
Yeah. So if you're traveling and it's windy and you want to take your Nutiden, get one of those knitting bags, get something with a drawstring so that it doesn't go flying off out into the world.
This is very
it was well worth it.
It's well worth it.
Yeah.
And thank goodness you bought a lot of Fortuna's
I had
You're
enough
fine
to finish my thing. So 375 grams of Nutiden for this
size.
I knit the size 1, but it's top down, and my gauge is larger than the pattern.
Gotcha.
And I just sort of had the measurements of this and tried to replicate it, and discovered that with blocking, this one blocked 4 inches more than this one. So because the like bust size is like
the color or the color is probably,
I don't know,
or just maybe the blend.
Just the blend. That this one's 48 inches, this one's 52, and that one's 50.
50.
Yeah. So what I did with this one is I wanted again to find the perfect mock neck, and so I actually cast on way fewer stitches around the collar to try and bring it in.
I like it,
and I love it. Like this is the proportion that I'm really happy with.
This is
like that's
this
the
is
perfect mock neck
because it kind of stands out, but it's not like.
But it's not as wide. I mean, I do love this, but so
well, thank you, Jackie, for figuring this out because I'm keeping it. You could just make it again, right?
So one of the reasons why I ended up with so many versions of this is I have discovered that I can't knit anything once because I have a streak of perfectionism, and like I'm like it's beautiful, but I could see I just want to make a little tweak, and then so I knit a second version. Like so I realized as I was going through. Like I have a lot of double sweaters because I like to make these little tweaks, and also because I just love a basic. I love knitting a basic. I love having a basic.
So convenient to have it.
They're just, you know, and I think the skirt is a perfect example of how, for me, the styling that I like is a basic with a pop. And so when I knit this sweater, one of my intentions around it was for it to be like my sweater that would commemorate sort of being there. And the Botanisca colorway we have like wax nostalgic about, so I'll contain myself, but it is just
so much.
It's the forest. I don't know if you can tell. There's a little bit of like there are these little pops of pink. There's a little bit of gold in it. On a sunny day, if you took it out into the sun, you could see the depths and the dimension. And to me, it was like the forest.
Yes.
All right, and so this was my like Diana or Artemis sweater. It was like my foresty sweater, and that was the sort of archetype that I was contemplating and working with, and energy that I was in at the time that I was knitting the sweater. And then I came home and realized that the perfect outfit for Artemis is this one.
Oh, I love that. Beautiful.
Right? And so I've like created the sort of split of this, but with a shawl.
That's right.
Right? And then also in terms of symbolism, this was my like lunar moon shawl, and Diana and Artemis are also associated with the moon, and I was just like,
done. Perfect.
Done.
It's beautiful.
And I love
this.
I love the combination of having texture or pattern in combination with a basic. And I think that I will get many, many years of wear out of like a sweater like this, which depending on how I style it and what I put it with, like looks completely different.
Absolutely.
So this is my PSA for it's okay to knit many, 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 many stockinette sweaters.
Well, definitely. Well, yes, definitely. I think stockinette sweaters are. It was funny when you came. We were talking about doing a stockinette sweater sort of roundup, and I was like, "Oh, I should go and grab some of mine so you can try mine on." And Jackie was like, "Do you knit stockinette sweaters?" And I was like, "That's true. Like, I do tend to gravitate towards things that have a lot of pattern and a lot of like color work or cables and things. But I also I do actually have a significant amount of stockinette and." If I think about the things I actually wear, it's that. Like, these are the ones that I throw on and, you know, like, when I'm just around the house, like, I actually am more likely to wear something that is just a basic than something more complicated.
And when I think about sort of, like, what's the reason why I cast on a particular pattern, a lot of my knitting is sort of an exploration of archetype and energy and intention and sort of idea. But I do have some knits that are driven primarily by function and aesthetic.
Yeah.
Like aesthetic, it was like I wanted to, I always love knitting with Nutiden. And that's something that I always like to have through my hands and through my needles. But like the momentum behind this knit, it sort of started as wanting to capture a time, and to have the energy of Maria sort of like weave through that I could put on when I felt like I needed it. But ultimately the momentum behind the sweater started there, became really about a product.
Yes.
Like I wanted this particular aesthetic, and then in the addition of styling and like how am I gonna wear it, it kind of went back to more like energetic. And I sort of love that, and now it basically started this process of me pulling out all of my shawls and all of my sweaters and starting to think about like outfits.
Nice.
And how to put them together. And I mean, I love a statement knit, right? I love a statement knit that has a really strong look to it. But I don't know.
I love how there was just a knock of anything, and now all it takes is one. Shh, guys.
Lily,
It's okay. It's okay, guys. I don't think anyone's there. No one's there. Lily, this isn't even your house. You don't have to defend it.
regularly scheduled chaos.
Hi, baby.
Our apologies
It's
to your
okay.
neighbors.
You know, I was even just thinking how quiet they were and like how nice.
Yeah.
They're sitting so nicely.
I love the silhouette on you, by the way.
I
just would like to say that.
I want to say, like, I like it too, and it's not something that I generally knit, but when I put it on, I'm like, oh, I like this. Although I always laugh, like, look at how
I think probably
look at how short it is, right?
Like,
Yeah.
I wonder how it would look if you tried this one on, right? But that's become my staple sweater.
This is
That's become my
beautiful, and I have enough. I think how 350 or so.
Yeah, 350.
Well, although I'm gonna have to make it longer, so. Okay, now.
And
how do
the
you
one
use-
that I did in so that's the back.
That's the
So
best.
interesting
Sorry, buddy.
construction
Sorry,
wise.
buddy. Just knock him over.
Interesting construction wise, the short rows are all in the ribbing.
Ooh.
Normally in a top-down sweater or a raglan sweater,
Still a bit short, but
different,
different.
right? So this one I played with the arms. I didn't decrease through the arms. I just
Okay.
modified the armhole. Like this drop part I made smaller. Like when you split for front and back, I made it smaller to sort of take the arm in, but was too lazy to do decreases. And actually, now that I'm looking at it, I think that I like this one with a 3/4 sleeve.
Ooh. But see, this is the
Better
piece where it's like,
3/4 sleeve.
it's nice as 3/4, but you also can roll it if you want. Like, that's the one benefit of knitting. If in doubt, it's nice to knit it long because you can always roll
And adjust
if you
it up.
want, or like zhuzh it up kind of thing.
Yeah.
But not,
I also think that like we have some windows open, and as I sort of roll it up, I'm like, my forearms feel naked. Although I sort of aesthetically like the idea of a 3/4.
3/4, I find 3/4 with quite a warm sweater can be difficult because you are wearing the warm sweater for a reason because it's cold, and so then you end up with like this not feeling like there are parts. But then I keep thinking to myself, I should just knit some wrist warmers. That would solve the whole thing.
Or like, you know, like opera gloves.
Or opera gloves.
Like opera gloves in like a really poppy color.
That would be cool.
So dramatic. I would never
We
wear
should do
that.
it with Amy Pelko made those hot pink gloves.
But how fun would that be?
Beautiful.
So part of this, the invitation to do a third one was because of Kaci of Young Folk Knits and her Bougie sweatshirt KAL.
Right.
And I was thinking to myself, like Bougie is such an interesting concept, right? Which like you can think of Bougie as like using a really deluxe fiber, like, you know, going into something like whatever deluxe is for you, like whether it means adding a strand of mohair or doing like yak or cashmere or just something sort of outside of your staple. But when I really thought about a Bougie sweatshirt, what came up for me is like a classic black sweater.
It's true.
And that's how I ended up here.
It is really lovely.
And I feel like this again is, you know, it's Nutiden, and Nutiden, I don't know if I would think of the fabric that Nutiden makes as like bougie or dressy or elegant.
But it looks it in this.
But I feel like the combination between sort of like the silhouette and the color, and what you decide to wear on the bottom. Like if I was wearing denim, then I think really casual, but because I'm wearing sort of like a shiny legging,
Yep.
I'm like, I could wear it, I would feel comfortable wearing this out.
Totally.
Like
Get some heels.
a pair of heels and like some statement earrings.
Totally. It's gorgeous.
New favorite sweater.
Thank goodness,
third
because you have
version.
3 of them.
And there will likely be more.
I want to knit it. Is it a pretty big gauge? What's the, like 6? 18?
I think probably that one's 14 and
14?
This one's 14 and this one is 16.
Okay, so that's not long to knit
Yeah. No, it really does fly off. Yeah, it really does fly off the needles.
that. Okay.
Yay! There we go. There'll be like 6 more.
Well, especially now that I know how it looks so good with the skirt.
Yes.
So I'm going to be making more skirts. And
outfits.
I need because I feel like with that skirt, well, it's one of 2 ways. I like a really like wide, bulky sweater with the mini skirt, or a very fitted, I like a fitted raglan high collar kind of with a fitted skirt too, if the skirt fit.
See, what I actually love about this is like on me, because we have different body sizes, like this is less fitted. And I don't know. Oh, that's a good look. I was I kind of like that it has a little bit of a flare.
It does look cute with the flare on you. Yeah.
Flare. Yeah.
But yeah, I like it. I like a little. So Jackie, it's basically we've done the same thing, right? Like where it's like you do it and then you figure out what you don't like and then you do it again. Yours is just that you're gonna knit a whole sweater again. If I could rip back, that's what I need to work on this year. Like, but I did. I actually should give myself credit, and I did. I totally with this sweater, but also with this, I ripped it back quite a number of times. But probably if I'd listened to my instincts and just gone back originally, it would have been a lot better for me to just do that and listen to it. But
I think you probably also some of the projects that we knit are projects where we learn, where we sort of advance in our skills and our understanding of sort of technique, right?
Yes.
And we also learn what we like. And the thing about this sweater, I'll say, like if anybody decides that they want to knit it, before blocking, it looks like, oh my God, this sweater is not going to work.
Okay.
Because it needs drape. Like part of it is the drape, and that's why, I think Nutiden is such a good choice around this. Like I would not choose to knit this sweater in something that was like more springy, like held character. Like you really want to have something that's drapey,
right?
Because pre-blocking you don't sort of get the drape, and so both times when I put this on, when I tried it on, I was just like, oh no, I've made a grave error, and then I was like, I'm just gonna block it and sort of see what happens, and post-blocking happy. And when I knit this again, I was trying it on and I was like, oh God, like why is this not working?
Don't you love that the self-doubt still comes even though you have had the experience?
3 sweaters. The third time I'm still like, this is not gonna work out. Is this gonna work out? Because I made some modifications, right?
True.
But
that's true.
Yeah. So
yeah. I'm like I wonder about it with going back to like the Lento, like without any kind of stretch. Like I wonder what this would be in the same kind of thing as the Lento, like with like the alpaca linen silk.
Yeah, like in a really
drapey,
like really.
It might not hang and like it might be too but it would be worth checking out. Like at a really large gauge, the same kind of thing, and just letting it.
Do you think you would do it the way that you do with your Lento, where it's a large gauge that you can see through, or do you think you'd be looking at like a worsted or Aran like alpaca, for example?
No, I would want it to be like really open and super thin, like so it literally just kind of like hangs like a curtain kind of thing, like a
So
maybe this will happen.
Bougie sweatshirt.
Bougie sweatshirt.
This is my bougie sweatshirt.
This is a pretty lovely one.
Yeah. Okay.
Jeez. Oh,
what is happening here?
oh, did you get your little?
I'm tangled.
There we go.
I'm tangled.
Do you want to come back up or you want to be down there? I have one more.
Oh my gosh. This is like.
Well, it's not fully finished.
It's so beautiful.
It's not like I don't have the buttons.
It's so beautiful.
It's done. My pressed flowers cardigan is done.
Oh,
right. Look at this.
Oh my gosh.
I love it. I love it. I will throw it on, but as I say, the buttons aren't here, and I I ordered a few types of buttons thinking like I'll see which ones I work, but I think they're going to be extra special when I do get them. So, but even in the meantime,
Oh my gosh. Oh, it's perfect.
Look at how, isn't this just?
Is this blocked?
Yes,
this is blocked,
I did
right?
block it.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Oh my gosh,
I
it's perfect.
love it. I love it. Of course, I have to point out the one flaw. Why do we do that? But I do.
Why do we do this?
I know. This was the second sleeve, and I thought I had done it on size 4s, but I actually had done it on size 3s. So it's a little bit wider on the one side. Just so you know, in case you're like, what's going on? What a beautiful sweater. But like, what's with the weird cuff? So I will redo that. But apart from that, it's
a drop shoulder, Carmen.
I know.
So good.
I know. I'm telling you, I should just I think I'm going to start knitting drop shoulders from now because I think I love them. Sorry.
The fit
too
is
tall.
so good.
Isn't it? I really wanted a slouchy cardigan. What was very important to me in the cardigan is that I didn't want like a jumper, like a pullover, then that's just cut down. I wanted it to go, I wanted a V-neck in a cardi because I find somebody made the point that with cardigans, you should really leave them open most of the time because otherwise, why wouldn't you just knit the pullover? And I'm like, that's a great point. Right?
So true.
But I find, actually, I will put on really quickly here, and then you can put this on.
Oh, yes.
My Felix cardi, which I love, but see, you'll see, it's even buttoned up because I had it. I always have it buttoned up. Yes, you can come up 1 second.
All right, this is never being given back. I'm just gonna run out the door.
It's just isn't it great?
Oh
my God.
Have to come off. Oh my God.
It looks so good. It looks so good. It's so comfy. But okay, so you can see this is buttoned up because when you unbutton a sweater that is all the way at comes all the way up to the top of your neck, because of the buttons and the way things are, I find look, it kind of does this thing at the top. It can't really
some
be.
People will do one of these, right? Some people will wear it like that, and some people, depending on how tight it is to the collar, you can kind of have that look. But I agree.
Yeah.
I think a V is a really flattering cardigan collar.
Yes.
God.
Right? So, this is
V cardi?
This is a cardi I have wanted. Oh no, you wear it and then I can talk about it. I wanted to make.
I feel like
I saw it.
It's so good on me.
It's so. Oops. Thank you. Where is this? Since I saw it, so when I saw the pressed flower shawl, I loved it. But now I would make it, but it didn't grab me enough to go do it. As soon as I saw it as a cardi, I was like, oh my God. Oh my God, this is it. So I used Brooklyn Tweed, their Ranch Merino, which is a single flock from somewhere in the US. It's so super soft, it's so squishy and lovely, non-superwash. And then I used Spin Cycle. This was the first time, I knit a hat with Spin Cycle, but this is the first time ever knitting a garment with it. And I mean, as we've talked about before, Spin Cycle is definitely an investment, particularly as a Canadian. Woo, almost sat on you again. The shipping and the exchange, it's a lot. But there is something, we're talking about when you were knitting with the variegated poison apple wool or yarn. It's enjoyable because you're watching how things change as you go. He's going to make sure that pillow is soft enough for him, so he's just gonna scratch it up to death and it'll stay exactly the same, and then he'll at some point feel like it's ready. I'm just gonna move my knitting here. Anyway, it's so enjoyable. And then when you get to sleeves, your sleeves end up being different. And I was like, should I worry about this? But no, I like it.
Yeah,
it's not like you really pay attention.
You hear about people who do the color matching.
Yeah.
And if you're willing to go through that process, then sure. But
totally. I love it.
So it's a beautiful cardigan. I just wish that you guys could touch it because it's this it's both squish and drape at the same time.
Yes.
But I this is my, I'm calling this year my year of color. Because like, this is one of those things that, for me, it's the color that is just so transcendent.
Yes,
like,
I do love this.
Like the combination of colors, and this sort of started me on the kick of thinking about how when we pair colors, that a warm color looks really good next to a cool color.
Yes.
Because generally speaking, I think when I think about color pairings, I think about like cool colors with cool colors, or like warm colors with warm colors. But this is like warm with cool, but maybe the colors themselves are like not, one isn't super super warm and super super cool. They're kind of like close together, but there is something about that like tension, I think, between the warm and cool that I just want to keep looking at it.
Yes. And you actually, it's not like you look at a section of your sweater and then your eye wants to kind of keep moving because it's so, like, look at how even within, you might, from here, you're like, okay, it's a navy, it's a, you know, a light blue, it's a dark blue. But when you actually go into it, it's got all of this stuff inside it, so much dimension in each one. And just as you're knitting it, it's so fun.
That icy blue on the saddle, to me, is just
I know, me too.
So good.
I loved it. So it came out here so early, and then there wasn't any more all the way up through. And I was like, where is that icy blue? And I did this sleeve, and nothing. And then it was right on my last sleeve. I was like, oh, there we go.
Do you remember how many skeins you used of the spin cycle?
2.5, I think.
Yeah.
It wasn't as much as I thought. It called for 4, and I'm pretty sure I didn't finish my third, and might have been 2 3/4, but something like that.
Close to 3.
And then I don't know.
What size did you knit?
I knit size 2, pretty sure. I will update Ravelry, but pretty sure it's size 2. I can't tell you exactly, like I'd have to go look at how many skeins I used, because the main color was also, I have a bunch of them. I bought them on sale, and they were 50-gram skeins, so I just kind of kept grabbing them as I needed it, but it used a lot less than I thought it would. And it was it's not long to knit it, but it takes, actually Tashi at Starlight and Stitches, is it Starlight?
I think so.
She's, by the way, like, who is this person? Where has she been in my life? I watched one episode and I was like, I'm in love. She's amazing. Everybody has to watch her. But she was talking, I guess this is her Dungeons and Dragons sweater, and so it's taking a while, but I should write her and say, even though it wasn't mine, I was focused, it takes a while.
Yeah.
Like it was a lot longer to do these sleeves. Like the other ones, for my other knits, they were done in like a day each, and this took quite a while. Not sure why.
It's intricate.
I guess,
right?
but
you're kind of going
simple.
one by one by one by one, right? You're not like knitting across the row. You're like knitting a stitch, picking up the next, slipping, knitting a stitch, slipping, and then you sort of
But it shouldn't be that long. I don't know, but it's worth it. The squishiness, and I will say also, I almost didn't block it. I am glad I did, because it gave me this really drapey sweater, but it was so spongy. It was like completely, and I loved that too. Yeah. So
I remember the first time when like pre-blocking, when it was a whip and I put it on, it just like hugs you. Yeah. And it was like shorter and just yeah. This is more of like a cozy. Sort of get a cozy. Oh, it's so beautiful.
I love it. I love the silhouette. So Pressed Flowers cardigan by Amy Christoffers, and I find that she has an aesthetic I really love. Like I like knitting her pieces. Yeah. I just feel like it's a fit that I really do like, even though my Felix, I still wear my Felix all the time. It's just that I always have to do it up. I don't know how to do that. But here I can just leave this kind of hanging open.
Yeah, it'll be nice when there are buttons on it.
Yeah.
But also there's a part of me that's like thinking about when I knit this, like I might not even do the button band.
Might just leave it as,
because I think it looks so good.
It does. It'll just like hanging. Yeah.
And also just thinking about like how you tend to style and wear your cardigans. Oh, the back.
I know.
The back.
It's just such a nice, I love it.
It's a really nice, I feel like it's a really nice iteration of a V-neck also, because I tend to think of V-necks, sweaters as usually sort of being like long or long and with less ease. And I feel like this is just on you like the perfect proportion of not super like not crop, not long, just like the right amount of ease and the pattern and the color. Like there's just, to me, like really interesting juxtapositions in terms of sort of opposite things, right? It's just like just enough of this and just enough of that. It's like a perfectly balanced dish, right? Like it's sweet and salty, and you know,
I agree. And I was thinking, it's funny, this is one where I was thinking to myself, if I saw this in a store, I would like grab it immediately, you know, like it would be one of those things I'd be like, whoa, like look at this sweater. Like it's a really interesting, and you're not gonna see it in a store. Like it's not, I mean, you just don't see this kind of stuff.
I also think like a geometric motif has a lot of like longevity in terms of like style. Like I think it's like, again, it's like classic with a twist.
Still a neutral, but something.
Yeah.
I'm very excited. I really, I'm very happy. It's funny, I'm like, would I knit it again? And I'm like, I don't know, actually.
Because the construction, there's a lot of steps.
There's a lot of steps. And I just don't know that I need another. Like, it's almost like this
Are
is
you
perfect.
gonna top this one?
Well, you know, like, would I want to reach, if I felt like wearing this kind of silhouette in this cardigan, like, why wouldn't I wear this one? I love it.
Right.
And I do want to say, just again with the construction, like, I feel like, look how beautiful. I just think the way it comes through and like drops down, I don't know. I think it's just a really beautiful. If you can't tell, I'm quite enamored.
I'm also enamored with it. Yes. And this, like, this is not, this color is not my color story, but looking at it, I'm like, is it my color story?
Well, it's funny because I don't think it does fit. Like, I actually, it's one of those things that it's not perfect color for me. For my face, it will wash me out a bit. I just don't care. Like, whatever. It's not my perfect color, but it's my perfect color to look at.
Yeah.
Like, so sometimes you just want to wear that.
I also really, there's this whole conversation. I feel like I remember at some point someone told me in terms of like styling or like color pairings that you should never put black and blue together, and this I completely disagree with.
Black and blue,
Like I think black and blue look so nice together.
Me too.
And I also, when I think about like what you tend to wear and what's in your closet, it's like a lot of black and a lot of denim. And I feel like this is perfect. Like it's like the perfect neutral, but it's like a pop.
It is.
It's perfect.
I love it. I'm so happy. Especially when I fixed this one sleeve. It was actually driving me nuts. And I was even like, well, when I'm blocking it, maybe if I just really squish it together, it'll be fine. But it's like, no, it's not. It's not the right thing. So
okay,
I just have to
a
fix
little
it.
cuff.
It's lit. It'll take me no time.
Yeah.
It'll take me no time.
Oh,
highly recommend this.
Right. See, then I see these and I'm like, why do I just knit always basic stockinette sweaters? Like, you know?
I know, but again,
there's time to knit
space
both.
for both of them.
Yeah.
And as I say, we've said it, but like this is one I'll wear more often. It's not like a super. Some sweaters are like super complicated, and I don't tend to wear them as much because they have so much
going
on. I guess. Yeah. Whereas this one, I think I would just. I mean, with jeans and stuff, I can't wait.
It's like
I'd probably wear it with a different kind of neckline too. I just kind of threw it on with this.
With
But
a neckline. But I tend to
like maybe a little lower.
High collars.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
Gorgeous. Thank you. Okay, so last episode I put on the sweater. We got so distracted that I didn't even talk about the sweater, and so I put it like front and center, and I was like, I put it on so that you don't forget to talk about it.
Yay!
So continuing on the theme of lots of positive ease and the stockinette sweater. This is the Gentle Lopi Tunic by Greene. It's in Nutiden Yarn. The colorway is raw, held double. This was 320 grams of Nutiden, which just tells you something. Like, you know, if you think about the Jeols, this was less, but because it's a different colorway and a different blend, that there's more yardage.
Is the gauge the same too, or is
the gauge is the same?
Wow.
Right?
I just want to touch it.
In terms of this idea of like the bottom half of our body doesn't get as much knit love, the moment I started to wear this, I just was like, now every single crop sweater, I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I like my sad lower parts that want to be wrapped by wool, and I'm thinking to myself, would like knit dress, so on and so forth. Like
Yes.
that's happening. So
Making a knit dress.
this is knit top down. It's got a really deep raglan. You can see
these
eyelets.
pieces. Yeah.
Right.
that's
This is actually unfinished, guys.
What?
Yeah, it's not done yet. But I've been wearing it for like 2 months.
What do you mean?
And then there's a split hem, and you can see that the back hem is a lot longer than the front hem, which I love.
I love this.
There's a really beautiful way that she splits the hem. That there's this like really beautiful edging along the split hem, which is like
Lovely.
those little details that I feel like really matter and really count. And so the reason, so it could be finished. It could be finished, but if you actually look at the pattern, you don't keep the eyelets. What you do
Why?
is you use a crochet hook, and you essentially crochet a braid through these eyelets, and it's really beautiful.
It is really beautiful.
It
Because I
is
remember this.
so-
I started this sweater actually.
Yeah,
and hearted
that's
it.
what makes me laugh. You're like, what is this? I'm like, yeah, it's on your needles.
It got pushed. To the
Yeah, it
side.
did sort of
I'm making it now.
away. But so the reason that it's unfinished, and the reason that I actually brought it last time was because I wanted some feedback.
Yes, it's gorgeous.
Because I love it. This is the right side. Okay. But one day I put it on inside out.
How did that happen? Or just accidentally?
Accidentally.
Ah.
And I am wondering whether I like it better in reverse stockinette.
Huh. Ooh. Yes.
What do we think?
Oh my gosh.
Stockinette or reverse?
It's interesting how immediately I thought of the Bougie sweatshirt this way, whereas I didn't see it as a sweatshirt before, but now it's beautiful.
And also, so this
And it's
again,
so perfect.
this-
You can just completely reverse this. There's nothing.
exactly.
It's perfect.
The colorway bra is, to me, just again one of those like Nutiden colorways that it's brown, but it also, do you see the green? Do you see the
Yes.
shimmer of the gold?
Yes.
And do you see how the reverse stockinette shows it off
much better.
much better
I do.
than like, I mean, that's
I
gorgeous.
do.
But
It's also gorgeous.
and so that's what I looked at it, and I like had one of those moments where I like walked into a beam of sunlight, and I was like,
Wow.
like taken by it.
Yep.
That I'm thinking.
Yep.
What do I think? Do I?
You don't even have to make a decision. Wait, if you don't put the thing.
Well, that's what.
Yes,
Because I
that's the
do
piece.
like the idea of having the braid, and I think actually that the braid is gonna pop on the reverse stockinette.
I see. So you would make the commitment.
So I would make the
but you would do it on this
commitment.
side. Yeah.
Although then I've been looking at it and I'm like, it's kind of gorgeous with just the eyelets.
It's so beautiful with the eyelets. Like, it's so beautiful just as it is. If it was anyone else, I wouldn't suggest this, but I would say, like, but since you knit things multiple times, all the time, I would say leave this one and knit again and do the with the braids.
Yeah.
Because
So
this is perfect.
I mean, this is just so. In terms of the sweater itself, this has become my go-to. Like if I'm going on a hike.
Oh yeah.
Sweater because it's common that like this area gets cold, right? Like
yes.
it's Canada. My boots come up to here. Sometimes they come up to here. I rarely am like I have cold calves, but I very often think I have cold thighs.
Me too.
And so this extra length just has kept me warm.
It really is significant. It's significant.
The other thing about it,
by the way, it does make me wonder, like, because I never realized I had cold bum and thighs until I put like a skirt on. So now I'm like, maybe I need to make some leg warmers, and then maybe our calves will be like, see,
yeah.
I've been cold this whole time.
I mean, the other thing that was interesting here is compared to the pattern. If you look at the sample, she knit hers like a lot longer.
Yes.
And I took it up
Dress.
because I wasn't sure proportionately.
I think this is perfect on
if
you.
it was okay. Like I kind of thought that if it were really as long, I don't know that serves the proportion that I like to see aesthetically on my body.
I think it looks perfect on you. I wouldn't change a thing.
But love this sweater. Highly
it's
recommend this
beautiful.
sweater. So
Another
grateful
perfect neutral.
that Melody Hoffman created the design in this way, and even like the way that the split hem edging is, that like I can reverse it. You know, I'm looking
You
at
make me want to run upstairs. I want to run upstairs and just start back on that sweater. Yep.
Yeah, it's so
It's just sitting there at me.
if you when Kaci of Young Folk Knits, she announced the Bougie Sweater KAL, I was like, this is the KAL.
You're like, this is my KAL.
I'm ready. Like, I'm gonna set enter 7 times.
entries.
I felt like everything I knit
Is a
qualifies
bougie
for the
sweatshirt.
Bougie
It's
Sweatshirt
very
KAL.
true.
Like, this is that's my aesthetic. It's a bougie sweatshirt and a shawl that's huge, and I'll smack people in the process of putting it on, right? Like, that's just that's just the deal. Which brings me to another finished object.
By the way, I also need to say that Jackie was like 3 days ago, I hope I have things to show. I haven't been able to knit because of my illness. Like, and I was like, we'll see. I've been knitting the whole time and I've only got 3.
Okay, but let's be clear. The finished objects that I brought, some of them I finished in September, November.
Okay.
I haven't actually knit that much since January, but you can attest to the fact that because I knit everything on giant needles and bulky, I always bring these piles of knits, and these have been sitting in our knit pile and just like never made it on the podcast.
By the way, you can't see this, but Lily is all curled up on Jackie's sweaters and shawls.
It's a pile.
Love it.
So this is the Sulina Shawl.
Ooh,
by Stephanie Earp. She's one of
Yes.
the co-owners of Espace Tricot. This was, oh, I'm showing you this, sorry.
Oh,
This
it's also
is-
pretty on
yeah.
the other side.
This was originally published in Lena Magazine's 52 Weeks of Shawls, but it's now a free pattern on Ravelry. And so this winter, what I realized is that it turns out that when I'm hiking, I don't actually like a cowl. I don't actually even like a dicky. What I like is a crescent shaped shawl. Because it gives you the ability to, like, when you're first, just right on
I missed
cue.
it. No, I got there
Yeah.
on time.
That, like, when you're first,
Oh, yeah.
when you're first frozen,
Yes.
there's this, and then there's the ability to kind of like
taking it
keep
down.
taking it down and
Yes.
loosening it.
Oh, it's so pretty.
And so this was out of like necessity.
I wouldn't even have thought to make this, just so you know. Like, I would have been like, it's going to be too, like, how do I wear a shawl like this? And now you just did that, and I'm like, and now I need it. It's happening. I've got all this knitting to do today.
Crescent, I've realized that the crescent shape is probably my favorite shawl shape. If you would have asked me previously, I would have said like an asymmetrical triangle, but no, it's the crescent shape because I think it's so wearable.
It is beautiful.
Right? So there's that sort of scarf version, and that this is my favorite. I think this is sort of my favorite shawl look.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
This pattern is knit. It's got a big gauge. I think it's really beautiful because it has this little cable detail. It has the moss stitch.
It's so pretty.
And then there's this like ribbing section. And I think that this is a super versatile shawl because as you saw, this is the right side, but the wrong side is also kind of gorgeous.
Absolutely.
I mean, not so much on the cable detail, but like this kind of ribbing is also really beautiful. I love this shawl so much. This is such a meditative knit. This really kept me company. And one of the things that I often do with my shawls is that I combine my knitting with sort of breath work.
Oh,
So
isn't she amazing?
like, so
Amazing.
for example, it was like a 3-in-1, it's a free pattern, so I can tell you, it's 3 purls, 1 knit, 3 purls, 1 knit. And so what I would do is I would sort of like, inhale 4, exhale 4, inhale 4, exhale 4,
Yes.
inhale 4, exhale 4.
That's a really great idea.
And it was really very meditative, and I sort of knit it again in the like emergence of my convalescence, in which I was like, I have no brain space. If I turn on a podcast or like an audiobook, like my brain just like doesn't want the input, but I can sit here with my stitches and just breathe in for 4 and breathe out for 4 and breathe in for 4 and breathe out for 4.
Right.
Yeah, and I love it. I wanted to knit
beautiful.
this in this colorway for forever.
Is this Davala?
This is Davala, and you had knit a shawl that had moss stitch in it, the Annalise Autumn shawl, that had moss stitch in it, and I thought it looked so good in moss stitch, and so that's how I sort of got onto it. But again, this exploration of sort of saying these heathered colorways look really good in reverse stockinette.
They do. They do.
Really good in reverse stockinette.
Oh, it's so pretty, Jackie.
And this is again one of those greens of, is this warm or is this cool?
Yes, you're right. I would say cool, but also at first I thought it was gray. And then I was like, no, it's green. And then I was like, what is this? And then I'm like, oh, it's Davala. Like,
yeah,
it's amazing.
And so this is the reason that I picked this is because I was like, this will go with so many different colors.
It will.
So if I run it with Adekvat,
yes,
it's cool.
Yep.
And then the actual combo that I always wanted. So actually, let me talk about the shawl. The shawl itself, I knit on 10.5, so 6.5 millimeter needles.
Just in case that didn't come through, you want to say that one more time, just in case they couldn't get it.
So I knit this on US 10.5 size needles, 6.5 millimeters. So fast, like actually so fast. And what I always wanted to do was to pair this color, Davala, with Tallbark.
Oh, yes.
Because it's a pine tree.
It is a pine tree. It's beautiful. It's so pretty.
I just love this shawl shape. I just right now, like, this is my look.
It looks
this is my aesthetic.
Yes.
And again, so many ways you can wear it. This one, like in the sample, wear it like this. And they have, in the sample, there's like these really delicious big tassels that I was like, I feel like the tassels are gonna get in the way in terms of me using it as like for my hiking.
Yes.
But like,
oh, I love that the cable sits right
like
there
this,
too. That
the
is
cable
so pretty.
sits, it's kind of like a bandana.
Yes.
You can tuck it in so that it's like
it's
smaller.
So pretty.
It's just so versatile. So
yes.
There's that. There's like the classic way to wear a shawl that I feel we don't do often enough, which is just this way.
I wear that all the time. That's how I wear shawls most of the time.
Right? It's like that open cardigan sort of thing.
It's just such a cozy,
so
like it's like putting a blanket over top of your shoulders.
I don't know if the wingspan. Oh, I could to do this like
yep,
wrap
you could
around
totally
one.
Do it.
I just think a crescent shaped shawl is the most versatile shawl shape.
It's funny because I've always said a triangular, like a not asymmetrical, whatever, symmetrical triangle, I guess, is so versatile. But maybe it's for the same reason. And now I need to make this.
Yeah. Do you want to try that?
Yes. Although I don't think I'm gonna wrap it. I do not feel like I can wrap wraps very well. I don't know that I do it correctly. What do I do? Just put it like this?
Yeah.
This ends up being like, see, no, that doesn't stand for me. I'd have to like practice.
I think there's a fair amount of like, how far do I want it from my neck?
I can't tell where the cable is. Here we go.
With it.
Oh, it's so nice.
The other thing that I like about a crescent shawl is there's not so much bulk behind the back of your head. Back of your neck.
Oh, yes.
See? Man, that color looks completely different on you than it does on me.
Isn't that interesting, even though we have similar colors?
Yeah.
Although I wonder if it, like, are you looking at it from this way?
It looks more like blue, like I see blue in it.
I
like
see more blue too.
Turquoisey in it.
Yes. Maybe it's just like the light right here.
The lighting here.
How many grams?
That's a good question. It's
feels
less
like
than
less
200.
Definitely.
Definitely
Do you think it's less than 100?
No, more than 100.
Yeah? Yeah, you're right.
I was definitely into, like, it was 2 plates,
this
but
is
I'll include the weights
50.
in the show notes. But, you know, if you just want a satisfying,
I do want a satisfying, versatile knit. I want that, Jackie.
I just love it.
Really pretty.
And it looks good on the reverse. Like, I think this ribbing looks really nice. And so when you sort of like do a wrap with the shawl, sometimes you get like a little like right side and wrong side. Yes. I just think it's so beautiful. And I think that it shows off the heather nature of it.
I have that book. I have 52 Weeks of Shawls, and I don't think I've knit even one shawl from it. And yet every time I see somebody knit something from it, I'm like, oh my God, I need that. Like, I want to knit it.
I remember I also bought the book because I love shawls, and I bought the book, oddly, I mean, they're really gorgeous patterns, but normally like when there's a publication like Pom Pom or like Lina, I'm like, you know, doing the math around like how many patterns do I actually want to knit out of this
yes.
so to make the investment. And I remember buying that book being like, there are gajillion gorgeous shawls. There's so many shawls that I actually am like a little bit overwhelmed by the number of shawls that I don't know what I want to knit. But what I got it for was to understand shawl shaping. Is to sort of like see, oh, because there's all different kinds of like shawl shaping
like options.
Like they have rectangular shawls and symmetrical triangular, and there were like these nice little illustrations. And so I actually like spent one day just being like, oh, that's how you increase. Like, this is where the increases are.
Look at you. One of these days, maybe I'll be like you. Thoughtful.
You are like me many days of the week.
Yes, but not like that.
Not like that.
I want to be like that. I want to like think about like, I mean, but it's coming. I do think about construction.
The person who like self-drafted the skirt 14 times.
True.
But I do think that this is the first shawl that I knit out of the book.
Is it?
Yeah.
And you're a shawl queen.
And I love shawls. But
oh, it's I think it's possible I'm going to cast this on today.
Yay!
Like, I just want it. I really love it.
Yeah.
And I think there's something about, it doesn't feel overwhelmed. Sometimes a shawl, which is, okay, this doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any sense because a shawl and a sweater have about the same yardage, like a lot of times. Like, you can usually make a shawl in like 3 skeins. And for me, like 3 skeins is usually like a typical raglan, let's say. But there's something about a shawl, maybe because it looks all spanned out, that I'm like, it's so much knitting. I don't know if I have like all the time for all the knitting. Like, maybe I'll just make a quick sweater.
She who just finished a sport weight mosaic knitting back and forth one. Yeah, okay.
I know. It makes no sense.
It makes no sense.
But this one, to me, because it's only to me, I'm even thinking it feels like 1 plate. Like, I mean, it's probably just gonna be a bit more than 1 plate. I'm like, well, that's like, doable.
And again, you know, we talk a lot on this podcast about like the cadence or the rhythm of a knit.
Yes.
And this one, because there's like kind of 3 sections. Like, you have ribbing, and then you have moss, and then you have the cable, and then it just like it flies off. But I feel like, I mean, I don't remember when this collection from Nutiden got released that had the Tallbark and the Dvala, but I did so much dream knitting of a color work that had these 2 in it, but could never sort of settle on the one. Yes. And I'm like, now I am satisfied because I can wear it together. And
that was a perfect collection.
It was just, you know.
Oh, it's so pretty.
So pretty.
It's so pretty. It looks amazing.
So pretty.
And this sweater too. Like, I don't know. Are you going to talk about this? Because, oh my God.
So this is the Ina sweater. Am I wearing the right side? Yeah. So this is the Ina sweater by Layla Raven. Oh, I'll come up closer so that you can see. So sometimes with heathered yarn or fiber, you don't get as clear of a motif, and I think that that's just the case. But if I come up close, you can see it's this.
It's very clear in person.
Beautiful.
Like, when I look at this.
Yeah. Lace pattern.
They're like leaves.
Do you see leaves?
Yes.
Do you see
it? Is it not leaves? It looks like leaves to me.
Yeah. So it's a top-down round yoke sweater with a little bit of raglan shaping. Again, my love of a deep raglan. This I knit in Nutiden Hell Double at a large gauge. Again, US 10.5 or 6.5 millimeters, flies off the needles.
I know, I love that.
I think this might be less than 250 grams of Nutiden. this one actually has a project page on Ravelry. What? But I'll include it in the description box. But this was my, I knit this because I wanted a sweater that was a red-tailed hawk.
Oh.
And
I want a red-tailed hawk sweater.
So yes, like the motif is leaves, but I see it as feathers.
Oh, I see it too.
And this is my lucky hawk sweater, which is that when I wear it, we always see a hawk.
Oh my gosh.
So it's like, to me, it's lucky. And it's the sweater that I put on whenever I feel like I need to have more nature or to take a greater perspective. And it just, I feel extra cozy in it. It's such a beautiful pattern.
Okay, I have a question for you.
Okay.
So in terms of your process.
Yeah.
Because I want to do this. I want to be like this. So when you say it's your red-tailed hawk sweater.
Yeah.
What comes first? Do you say you want a sweater that would represent a red-tailed hawk, and then you find a pattern and a colorway that fits that? Does it start, I mean, maybe you have multiple answers to this, but
Yeah.
does it start with the colorway? But it wouldn't probably start with the colorway, I would imagine, like not in this particular case.
So with Nutiden, it typically starts with the colorway. I'll sit and meditate with the colorway, and then I'll get a sense of what the energy around the colorway is. And then there usually is like this feeling like I really want to work with this color. And then it sort of, then things start to show up. Like patterns will start to show up, and I'll be considering, do I think that this pattern honors the yarn? Do I think that the pattern sort of carries the spirit of the energy that I think is embodied in the colorway? So, you know, this Tallbark, Carolyn talked about the inspiration as being the bark of a pine tree. And this sort of as the needles of the pine. That was sort of the idea. And I definitely think that it looks like that. I do think that it has that quality. But when I sat with it, the word that came to me was perspective. And then, you know, working with archetypes and symbolism, then sort of I was like, oh my gosh, like a hawk, like a red-tailed hawk, because it had those red tones in it. And so that's how that's
and the perspective, like the hawk.
Yeah, the hawk flying over. And so it's my lucky hawk sweater.
And then the pattern just arrived, and you were like, look at this, there are feathers.
Yeah, when I saw the pattern, and the other thing at that time was I was really in this exploration of sort of like homecoming, and Layla released this sweater as part of a collection in which she was sort of honoring her roots. And so it was like all of those things happened together in probably a 4-week period of time, and it just so like these little pieces fall into place. And then the sweater happens, and then the interesting thing is like I can get really cerebral and symbolic about it, and then something happens when I complete the sweater and I put it on, and I'm like, oh, this like this is what it's about. Because I think when I started it was perspective and pines, like that was kind of things, perspective, pines, and homecoming. And then when it was complete was when it became the red-tailed hawk sweater. And I like literally put it on, we went, I actually have some like finished object shots, and we were out in nature in this like stand of pines, and a hawk flew over, and I was like, it's my hawk sweater. And now every time I wear it.
Oh my gosh.
And this is a weird sweater in that way, in that like, it's beautiful, I love it. And it's something that like when I go into my knit pile and I'm like, oh, what sweater am I gonna wear today, or what sweater am I gonna sort of wear hiking? And like it's not one that I'm like, oh, I would like to wear it today. It's like, put that sweater on today. Like I need to wear that sweater today. And then inevitably, like we can be just driving in the car and there'll be like a hawk on the side of the road. Like I don't actually have to go into nature. So, you know, spirit medicine. And now the tree to go along with it.
The hawk's in the tree.
Yeah. And there's something really satisfying about sort of having this idea and this vision of sort of colorways that you want to put together, and it doesn't work, and then suddenly like the pattern lands. Right? Like I think, I mean, I don't know when this was published, but it's not like it's a new pattern. It's just like sometimes, it's like Lento. Sometimes there's just like the momentum of a pattern, and I don't know how it actually happens, but it happens, you know?
Well, you're giving me feelings of hope. Well, not that I don't have hope, but you're helping me with my hope on my I recently frogged a knit that I had done. I posted a picture on my Instagram.
Oh, that's right.
I wish I hadn't frogged it actually, because then I could at least shown it. But
Yeah.
It's basically a sweater that I'm restarting in different wool. That the wool that I was using is absolutely fantastic, but I don't think it fit that pattern very well, like in terms of just how the floats were going, what the motif was. It's a color work. I'll talk more about it the next time, because I'll probably have it done by then, hopefully. But what I was gonna say is that combo of colors, the reason I even posted it was because I wanted to I wanted this to be shown. The colors were so perfect together. It wasn't right in that pattern, but I know there's another thing that's out there, and so you're giving me kind of a sense of like it's gonna come. Like right now, I think I'm thinking about a stripes. I think it's gonna be some kind of a striped sweater with the like burgundy color as the main, and then like the rest of it stripes through. But we shall see.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be patient, and I know these things are supposed to go together. It's just it wasn't in that one.
But you kind of taught me that actually, just the like trusting that like the pattern will show up at the right time, and which leads me to something that I wanted to sort of talk about, sort of stash, right? So Kristen, Cozy Made Things, she also is just like a source of deep inspiration and creativity for me in terms of her color sense, and just like prolific garment knitter of all the garments that I want in it but don't manage to get on my needles. And so we were talking about so we have decided that we are going to run a very unofficial Toothpick Knit along.
Right. Yeah, is it even
for
an
the end of the
official
year?
one?
I
We're
mean,
definitely
what's
doing
official or not official? Anyhow, so we've decided, or I've decided, and then Carmen decided that in fact this is
isn't
the
as
year,
torturous for me since I'm gonna knit a lot of fingering, but
this is the year that I'm gonna do the twig sweater by Junko Okamoto, and I was like, what colors am I gonna sort of put together? And so it's a funny thing, the twig sweater knit, because it's backwards from my process, because I have a pattern and now I have to go and find wool, as opposed to having wool and then finding a pattern.
That's my normal way, is the pattern first.
Yeah, I thought that's not a regular thing for me. So I'm like in this whole new process, and Kristen was talking, because I think she has such beautiful color sense, and I'm like, teach me your ways. And she's like, I have a big stash, and my stash is like a palette.
Yes.
And so sometimes I buy yarn and I don't really know what it's for, whereas I tend to like only buy yarn with an intention, or I just buy Nutiden and then it becomes something.
Yes.
But I was like looking, and I was like, I don't have much of a stash outside of Nutiden. I have Nutiden, and I have mohair and Surrey to hold with Nutiden. And then I have Brittany's low mileage wool. Like, I'm just like so new. Like, it's so new to me, and the idea of sort of having a stash that you can use as a palette of inspiration.
Yes.
Because I think that there is a lot of, I've just been noticing a lot of messaging this year around people talking about sort of having a stash that they don't know what they're going to sort of do things with.
Yes.
And I respect that, but I also think that there's something about saying, if you have a stash and not everything knows what it wants to be, you have to give it time.
It's so
for it to know what it wants to be. And I think to myself, like, when the twigs finally happens, is it gonna happen because I'm going around trying to shop for things to put it together?
Maybe.
Or is it gonna, or am I gonna allow myself maybe to start to purchase some non-Nutiden yarn with no intentions, and it will sort of like fall together? I don't know, because I've been, Carmen and the couple of people who know that I'm trying to put a twigs together, I'm like, how about this? How about this? How about this? How about this? There's been like so many combinations, and I haven't had that like feeling of click.
This is it yet.
Quite yet. But I have bought a significant amount of fingering. Well, thinking, oh, this and this will go together, and then I'm like, nope. This and this will go together.
The one thing I want to say that you do need to, so it's very interesting. That is how I roll. I usually, when I buy something, I want to have an idea that there could be something. So I might have sort of a like, oh, it could be this, but it often isn't. And that's what I do with test knits all the time. Like, so even this one that I just, I was doing this one set of wool, and then I had to find another, and I spent 3 blissful hours in my stash, like choosing different things, and it's a DK, which I have less of. Like if this
Yeah.
was a different gauge, I would have been there for a lot longer. But it wasn't exactly what I wanted, and then it's like trying to find a couple things. Like there's a few things I like, and then I'm finding pieces. Like actually, if I show you, I'm making this
colorway
Yokelore sweater. Okay, you can see the top part. Okay, so it's gonna be this. This is Petrichor from Sonder Yarn.
So good.
This is a teal BFL from a Sweet Paprika, who's doing, this is part of that yarn club that they're doing. It's like after Merino or like past Merino. Like, so basically they're trying to teach people about different types of wool that aren't Merino. And so every other month, every 2 months, we get a dyed skein and we get a natural skein. This is pure BFL. And then we're gonna have actually a meeting. It's in collaboration with Small Bird Workshop out on Vancouver Island. And we're doing a Zoom call, I think this Sunday. And then there's also all this information, you get all this information about the different breed, and like, it's super fun. So I would say if they're still looking for people, if you can still sign up, it's been awesome so far. But this was such an example, right? So I had to restart the sweater. It's a test knit. I'm stressed about this, which is again, knitting's supposed to be fun. I'd find a way to turn it into something scary, but then it's gonna work out. It always does. But I was just combining colors, right? So then I was like, oh, I think I really want to use this. This is actually gonna be a hilly hood. Ooh, I hope you can hear us. It's really windy out now. A hilly hood, but I know because I made a hilly hood for my sister that I'm gonna have some extra. So this should be enough for there. Then I combined it here. Then I needed to find DK, and I needed 4 skeins of DK for my size for the bottom. And I had this this is called the colorway is called Old Byre Door, which I think is super cool. Whoops, I've got some fiber in there. I bought this in Edinburgh, actually, in one of the yarn shops I went to. I'm blanking on the name. So, but this is actually gonna be the bottom. That's the top, and then I want to move into that. So what I want to do so far, if everything shows up in time, I want to use Brittany from Crux Fibers. This is my favorite colorway of all time. This is Love Story. This was the main color in my original version of this so this is a Yokelore sweater by Kathleen Eliza Knits. Anyway. But when I was kind of throwing things around, I love this. That's like, I mean, that's an intense combo, but like, I loved it. And then I wanted to add it. I loved adding the blues. So basically, I've got this.
So good.
Now I need one more color to go in between this. Now it could be that I move this and then it goes between this and this, but I think what I'm gonna have is right here. So my ideal that I found, and I'm hoping it works out, is an icy mauve. Mauve? I say mauve. I don't know, but most people say mauve. Mauve. That will go right in between to try to take me from here to here and then into that. But this was an example, like you're saying, of just I have things sitting there, and then I play. It's almost like being in a yarn store myself, and I have unlimited time. And so when I've been actually looking to see what's going to go in the middle of all of this, I've bought a few skeins of DK from different places, because I know that if one of them is going to work and the rest of them I will use.
Yeah, it'll become something else.
Yes. And Brittany from Crux Fibers just had an update last night, and she has a Clune Forest DK. And I was like, I'm going to buy a sweater's quantity of that. To me, about 4 to 5 skeins is great. Like, most of the DK color work sweaters I've been knitting are taking for my size 4 DK. So from her, I decided to get 5 just to be careful. And then I don't know what that's gonna be completely, but it's gonna be amazing. Like, I just know it's gonna be amazing once I actually use it. I don't know if it's gonna be color work. I don't know if it's gonna be straight. I don't know if I'm gonna put mohair with it. But there are all these options to do it.
And it's fun to sort of play. And I think the other thing as well is being at a place with your knitting practice where you've knit enough that you know what you love.
Yes.
And enough that you sort of have a sense of yardage. right? So that you can go about and sort of say sweaters quantity
should be around
like
this.
accessory quantity. Which reminds me, there was a comment that somebody left on our on one of our previous episodes asking about how do you know how do you decide how much like Nutiden to buy because there's no yardage associated with Nutiden.
Yes.
And so again, like the answer to that question, there's the answer on the Honor Och Air website that there are some parameters around that. But I'm happy to sort of share my buying parameters. So I typically knit for a garment, it's either anywhere from a 38-inch bust to like 52. Okay, so for a stockinette sweater, between 38 and 52, generally speaking, for me it's under 400 grams, but I would buy 500 just in case, right? But I have recently fallen down the rabbit hole of texture and cables, and since I've started knitting texture and cables, my Nutiden like sweaters quantity has had to increase because bobbles and texture and cables, it takes more yarn, it just like eats more yarn. So now my sweater quantity of Nutiden, if I think that it is going to be a textured sweater, I'm buying 600. If I wanted to do a full Balan cardigan, like if I wanted to do like, or a dress, like that would be 800 for me to hold it double.
Right. But is it ever that, like, when you actually measure them, like have you weighed the tunic?
The tunic is really light.
Oh, you said that was really light. So, like, is anything ever getting, because I've never had, like, well, did you weigh your Balan? What was
my
that?
Balan was 750.
750? Okay, that is the...
Yeah, my Balan was 750. The Balan, it was a huge
really
cardigan,
huge.
this
Bobbles
long, shawl
and
collar, full
cables.
cables, thousands of bobbles, maybe.
I think there's like 800 and something
like
bobbles.
Almost 1,000 bobbles.
Yeah.
And then I did a cable and half brioche sweater, the Aegyo sweater, and that was just under 500.
Okay. All right.
So it really, like when we say sweaters quantity, you actually do have to, it's not just a sweater's quantity. You have to think about like
go a little more,
what kind of sweater, like how big is it?
True.
How much ease is it? Does it sort of eat yarn?
Yes.
And you know, one of the things that I love about Nutiden, my favorite way, well, I knit it if we're talking about double stranded, right? That Nutiden is so versatile that if I overbuy, I'm gonna be able to use it in another way.
Yes.
Whereas I find with spun yarns, sometimes, like not all spun yarns will play with other spun yarns.
So in this case, I'm sticking with BFLs because, and there was an option to do, well, I might even use a merino and I'm nervous about it. Like, and I wouldn't combine a worsted spun and a woolen. I don't know that would, so you're exactly right. There's a lot less, you just need to have more stash for those.
Well, you have to recognize that spun yarns have their own character and they have a desire to be something, and when you knit it up, there's already a momentum built inside of a spun yarn. That's how I feel. And unspun yarn, for the most part, like Nutiden has no momentum.
Yeah,
like
because you
will
literally
be
put energy into spinning
into
a yarn. So
that's my answer to the question. And for a shawl, I would say it depends on the size of the shawl. Right? How double-stranded at a big gauge like my Sulina is less than 200 grams. But then if you're going to do like a triangular shawl or an asymmetrical triangular shawl that just has more surface area with texture, you're likely going to need 300. Right? So if you're going to knit with Nutiden single-stranded, then 200 grams would get a cropped 38-inch bust sweater.
Well, right? I have never knit Nutiden. I'm trying to think if any of my Nutiden has ever been over 300 grams. I don't think any of my sweaters have been, but that, in fairness, I usually knit quite close fitted sweaters, and they're lofty.
They're often cropped. Yeah. They're often a 3/4 or bracelet length.
Yes.
Sleeve, and also a lot of the Nutiden sweaters that you have knit were in older colorways.
Yes.
Which were
thinner.
Yeah.
That's right, because it's taking more yarn now.
Yeah. I've noticed that the weight of my sweaters has gone up because I'm knitting more sweaters with more ease and sweaters with texture, but I do think that there's also a change. There's been a change in terms of the specific heritage breeds that are going into the mix, as well as just the way that the wool is being produced.
True.
So, oh my gosh.
I wanted to put, just because we're talking about, and yes, you're right, this is an old colorway. This is like two years ago. This is row, which meant row, I think it meant row and it meant peace. Both of those things in Swedish, which that's so cool.
Yeah.
This is my Skvatrum sweater by Frida I think it's Frida.oskap on Instagram. This is the sweater that if I have anything lying around, I'm like, great, I can make a Skvatrum. So for me, this is almost a perfect sweater. Like I wear it
all the time.
I wear it all the time. It's the fit, the feel, I throw it on. It's super light, but it's also super warm, super soft. And this was 149 grams so I knit it single strand. And it's just the perfect sweater. So if I have two skeins, I'm always like, well, I can always knit a Skvatrum, you know? And we were just talking about kind of the stockinette, like it's just a basic stockinette.
Again, the classic black sweater.
But God, I know. It's perfect. It's a perfect sweater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also really love the collar.
Me too.
Like, again, that sort of high collar.
I like a high collar, like a turtleneck, but there's actually, as I come really close, there's all this like, what am I looking for? There's a pattern in that. Like you can't see it with such a dark colorway, but there's actually like a motif inside of here.
It's twisted stitches, right?
Well, it's twisted, but it has like, there's something else in it. I can't remember if there was like a lace bit or something, and it made this kind of like, it's a bit up and down at the top.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Cute. Those little tiny details. I love that sweater. I have two skeins of row, and I keep thinking to myself, I'm gonna knit this sweater and I want it like this exact one.
Yeah, it is.
I could do a Lento, but I want this one because I want the collar, and I just need it.
But it is true, you know, again, like I do tend to do shorter sleeve, like this whatever this is, if this is bracelet, like I do tend
somewhere
to
it's
stop
like
there.
What is it, like a 3/5 sleeve, not like a 3/4, but like a 3/5.
Only me, right? And I don't know if it's like I'm like, oh my god, the sleeves, like to, you know, just stop. But it's just how I wear sweaters too. Like I think even if I have a long sweater, I'm often like pushing it up to about this.
Yeah.
So I just kind of stick with it. But
yeah, most worn. You think
this
worn sweater?
This might be, if I had to choose one that was my most worn, I think it might be this.
Yeah.
Which is so funny, right? It's just like a very fast, easy knit, but it's just great.
Perfect fit, perfect feeling.
Yeah.
Not
too hot,
gravitate towards,
but warm. Yeah, love it.
Yeah. Okay.
Ooh, 2 hours, 22 minutes.
Okay. So,
oh yes,
I did bring 2 more things that I do definitely want to show.
Did you make 2 of these?
Yeah, let's see. Everything comes in 2s with me.
I love it.
2 of everything.
2 of everything.
Literally, I knit 2 of everything. Okay, so I'm gonna put on my most worn sweater as the base for finish object that I want to use. Okay.
That's lovely.
So this is probably my most worn sweater of all time. This is the My Favorite Things Knitwear sweater number 14, the crew neck drop shoulder version.
So pretty.
In Lugnet.
How much Lugnet did you buy? I feel like you've made so many things in Lugnet.
A lot. Like I bought like 700 grams.
Oh, but it's been stretched like it's a whole shawl. It's this and
and it was another shawl. I've used it in a lot of different places. So, I mean, what do I love about the sweater? I love the colorway. I love the drape. I feel like the ease is perfect. I love the long rib and the split hem.
Yes.
Although one of the things that I will say about the split hem, when you were talking about your skirt, is that like usually split hems, like you split your hem at like a 50-50, like they're the same number of stitches at this split.
Yes.
And when I look at the sweater, I wonder if I would have been happier if the split was further back. Like, I don't know, it was just a thought. It's just a thought about like how we split the hem, and I was just sort of thinking like the idea is that you want it to be symmetrical, but it's shorter in the front than the back if you have a bust. Random thoughts about
or almost like knitting the back a little longer,
or something like that. But just classic, versatile, light,
awesome.
drapey thing. And you guys know that we love Kaci Jack's knits.
Who doesn't?
Caitlin, Jackie,
They're
and
amazing.
recently Jackie published her first pattern, which is the Saturday Shrug Club. Is that the pattern? Yeah, Saturday Shrug. And then it has taken over the knitting world.
Yep.
If you want to check out the hashtag Saturday Shrug Club, you'll see all of the different iterations. And of course, I had to knit one. I had no brain space. What am I gonna do? I'm gonna cast on something in the round, 1x1 rib. And I'm gonna knit 2 of them because that's how it goes.
Yes, of course.
And
I'm excited because I want to try one of these on because I've been wanting to try these things. Oh, this is the combo I want. That's my favorite.
I knit in Nutiden. This is the colorway Raw. This is the colorway Sejd. This is what I was knitting like in bed, 1x1.
Thank goodness you'd worked on that, like not looking.
Not looking.
Ribbing.
Because I tried to do the Lento, but I kept missing the mohair, and it was like sliding off the needles. But like this, I could do. And again, I'm realizing that I have one look.
No, you don't.
And that's
I love it.
a shawl, a shrug.
Oh my gosh, it does
Over
look so
top,
perfect, doesn't
a
it?
basic.
Yes.
And
Well, there's a reason. It looks amazing.
I mean, it's a hug.
It is.
It's just a hug. You can style it an infinite number of ways. And what I love is that my slouchy gray sweater, I feel like I put this on, it's now a whole different sweater.
It is.
It's like a whole different thing.
Absolutely.
So you can sort of wear it all the way down. Right?
Yes.
There's this look, which I really like. It feels really nice. Feels like being hugged. Then there's, you can sort of take it up in your shoulders, and it's still sort of coming down, but you get a bit of this like cowl look. How else have I been wearing this? I'll fold it in half. And then you get more of a classic like turtleneck.
Ooh.
Look, it's just infinite possibilities.
I
You
knew
can
this
take it
would
off to
happen.
the side.
Oh,
You know,
it is really
like,
beautiful, isn't it?
It's really beautiful. And it's interesting because I don't have any stripes. Like if you looked at my closet, stripes is not something that I do.
Yes.
And when I was knitting it, it sort of reminded me of like rugby stripes.
I was just gonna say it's a varsity
It looks
kind of
like a
look.
varsity look.
It does.
Like,
I love that.
I'm calling it's my like Hermione Granger Gryffindor shawl. This is my plan. I'm gonna knit 4, and each one of them is gonna be one of the houses from Harry Potter, because I'm a nerd like that and whatever. So this is my Gryffindor, but something about it is like you put it on and it doesn't read varsity to me anymore.
No.
Because of the shape.
Because of the
because
shape,
of the,
because
like-
of the rest of the stuff. Like it's amazing.
Right? Like I love
It's
this
so nice.
so much. And I'll be honest, when I cast it on thinking, am I gonna wear this thing? Like I don't know if
That's
it's
what
for
I've
me.
been like. I'm like, am I gonna wear this?
You know,
I wanted
like-
to try it on.
I'm convinced that Jackie and Kaylin could put on a
Yes.
garbage bag and it would be like, it's so like, and they just know how to style it. The
Yes.
right earrings, the right shoes, the right
So
colors. And I'd be like, I need to go out and buy myself a garbage bag.
Yes.
And I need one. I need a Kaci Jack
That
garbage
particular
bag.
one.
That particular bag.
Yes.
Like they just exude
Style.
style and creativity, and also I think belonging to themselves, right? Like
Yes.
everything that they put on is like sew them because they've taken the time to find the palette and to curate and just like find something, right? The beauty is not just in the piece, it's in the piece and the person sort of coming together. But if you have doubts, honestly, it takes 2 days. It doesn't take that much yarn.
It seems like it would take so long, but because like a hat takes so long to do a ribbed hat.
Okay.
So how is this different?
I don't know.
But it is different.
So of course I made modifications. Jackie's pattern is perfect, but I am compulsive and I cannot not make modifications. And so when I saw the way that it looked on Caitlin and Jackie, I noticed that you could sort of take it out and it be wider, and you could take it out and you could wear it where it was like skinnier.
Yes.
So it's Nutiden yarn. Nutiden tends to get larger over time, particularly in a rib, and this is a 1x1 rib pattern. And so I looked at the dimensions in the pattern, which was 13 inches sort of wide and 20 inches tall. And I thought to myself, I think I need the finished object measurements, if I'm doing it in Nutiden, need to be smaller, because my expectation is that it's going to sort of stretch out. So instead of casting on, it's free pattern. So I think in the pattern you cast on 124 stitches, and I cast on 108. So it's 108 stitches.
108 stitches doesn't take very long.
Again, this is my needle size for this episode.
10 and a half?
10 and a half, US 10 and a half, 6.5 millimeter needles. And so I didn't gauge swatch. I was just like, I'm going to take it down to a number that I like. I don't want to do 124. I'm doing 108. 108 is a nice number. And so I cast it on, and then I started to knit it, and then I measured it and realized that actually with my needle size and 108, this is more than 13 inches. Like I think the bottom of mine, even before, you can see that I've been wearing it, and so it's going to stretch out more in the bottom, but it was like 14 inches, but I wasn't going to rip back. I just kind of kept going.
Yeah.
And then I just sort of knit and kept trying it on until it got to like the length that I wanted, which is less than 20 inches. Like this is shorter than in pattern and wider than in pattern. But what I did do, as I sort of came up and again, the search for the perfect sort of like mock neck circumference, I actually switched to a US 8 or 5.0 millimeter needle for the top two stripes, to accentuate the really sort of coming together.
But also you would think that I should see if I really look at it, there are different size stitches, but you don't notice it if
I think because it's a dark color. True. It's low contrast.
Yeah.
Oh my god,
yes.
It's just so delicious.
So I just put it on? Like,
how do I do this? Just put it on, and then you like zhuzh. Yeah.
Okay. This is literally the first time.
So I find that the most awkward part is sort of getting the back down. But like, it's so good.
It is good. It is good.
It's so good.
Oh, and it is a cozy hug.
It's so cozy.
Oh.
Yeah. It's like it's the perfect shavasana thing.
Oh, of course.
Right? Like at the end of a yoga class, to just like,
this is okay. Done. I mean, I'm gonna need as per usual. Well, maybe no, I don't. Like I was gonna say, as per usual, I probably would need a little bit longer than you would need. But actually, I like it.
So modifications to the pattern other than the number of stitches is that I am not doing a tubular cast on ever.
Why? That's so easy.
Tubular cast on?
Yeah, they're not hard.
Are they? I don't know.
Tubular bind off with Nutiden is too annoying.
German twisted cast on the bottom, because it's gonna cut, it needs the larger circumference. So I did a German twisted cast on the 10 and a half, and then at the top I did a regular bind off with the US 8 pattern. Right, and I expect that as I wear it, this will just sort of continue to stretch out and get wider, and it will sort of shape to the body. I was gonna say, maybe, and maybe, also like
Nutiden's just magic. Like it doesn't, like I don't know. That still has, well, but you're right. That is pretty. Well, anyway, but it just makes itself exactly what we need. Yes, and it in total was 123 grams of Nutiden. So what am I doing today? I am doing just to recap for everyone, I am casting on a crescent shawl that one from the book.
Sulina.
I am also
Earp.
making one of these, although it's going to take me hours to figure out what my colors are going to be because all the options. But oh my god,
I love that color combination. Again,
And
I wouldn't say that it's. Actually, when I knit it, I was like, "This is Carmen's colors," but I have become in love with it. And I also like it's a little warm, it's a little cool, and it's a little cool, and I feel like it looks really good. It's
so I'm just sitting here and I'm just feeling myself like toasting up to this like perfect space. Like this is so pretty. I've been waiting to make one of these because I knew Jackie was gonna make one. She never told me, but I just knew, of course, and that she would have it done by now. I don't know why I didn't expect she would have two, but like, of course she does. But now I knew I wanted to try it on before I made it, before I committed to that whole, day of knitting?
It's like, I would say it's 2 to 3 days. 2 to 3 days. It depends on how furiously you knit. But it's just like the stripes, man. And you're just like, oh, and then you're like, a little bit more. I just want to see what it looks like if I add like one more set of stripes.
But this is where also, so you're going to show this one, I guess, because I think that the proportion of the stripes will change the thing completely. Okay, so tell me about this one.
Then, so I put this on, and then I, again, like had a grand old time in front of the mirror, just trying this on with different knits. And thinking about all of the colorwork sweaters that I dream knit that I have never actually got on my needles. And I thought, this is it. Like, this is my opportunity to like have that play with color and put things together, but not be committed to a whole garment.
Yep.
Like, this is the joy of accessories, right? So,
yes.
So then I knit a second one because I have always wanted to do a color work with gray, navy, and pink. So this is Omye and Yera.
Wow, look at the difference. Like, especially when I look on there. Wow.
And so I knit it with the intention of wanting something to go with this sweater, and then I sort of got
that's where the gray
came from. That's where the gray came from.
I was struggling. Yeah. I'm like, where am I seeing
That's
the gray?
where the gray came from.
That's really smart.
Totally different look with the pinstripes. Interestingly,
really cool.
I thought pinstripes are gonna be less sporty or something. Like I sort of thought that it would be a more dressy look somehow.
Or nautical, maybe.
I don't know. But yeah, it has a completely different look, doesn't it?
I'm gonna shut this other window in case there's the sound of the wind.
The wind. So this version, I knit to the pattern specifications. So this version is 20 inches tall, or 20 inches, 20 inches tall. The bottom, I cast this off yesterday, so it actually hasn't been like stretched out to my shape, but the bottom again, I thought I would, I liked that one, and so I just cast on 108 stitches again with the same needle size. I wish you guys could feel this. It feels completely different.
It does.
Completely different.
I love this omye
color.
No, I don't want to give it back.
And then we'll swap in a second, I promise. So I knit this one the full 20 inches, and then I actually started with a 6.5 millimeter US 10.5. And then I worked my way all the way to a US 7 or a 4.5 millimeter.
Like steadily as you went?
Like steadily as I went. And then,
interesting.
I sort of eyeballed / measured the distance between stripes because it's no longer the same number of stitches in between because I sort of changed needle sizes. And part of that was sort of an exploration of squish. Like, it's like, how tight do I want the rib? So I think at the bottom I did like around 12 stitches of the navy, and then my plan was to do 2 stitches of the 2 rows of the pink, but I found, and so here's something about the pattern to consider. Actually, it might work better if I put this on, is that if you're doing a dark main color and a light contrast color, if I come up close, you'll see that like it's not like you see there's a little peekaboo of the previous row as you sort of knit up, And so I ended up doing 3 rows of the pink because if I did 2 rows, then I felt like there wasn't enough, like, there was like, it was just, it was like a hazy stripe as opposed to like having 2 rows of like a firm stripe and then a little bit of like echo or hazy because of the pearls.
Yeah,
right?
That's right. Cool.
So there's version 2. I love them both. I thought, so it's funny because if you put them on the table and you ask me which one I love on the table, I love this one more. But then when I put it on, I love that one more.
Interesting.
However, I did knit this with a specific purpose, which is that I have this pink pea coat that has like a really, that has like a deep V. Probably should not wear a sweater with this much ease under it, but that has like a deep V, and I never know like what to do on top. Solution.
There you have it. Thank God for knitting.
Perfect.
Yes.
Right? Also, inside, perfect.
Yep.
Also, option. This one's slightly awkward to make happen, to wear it like
that option too. That obviously, I don't know how we missed that one in the first bit.
To wear it sort of original styling
over your coat.
How
warm too.
So toasty. Like, you know, this coat is not the warmest thing in the entire world. And now I feel like I'm gonna be able to wear it in additional seasons because of it. And so, you know, if there was any doubt around the versatility of this pattern and just the joy of knitting it, like,
I mean, it's true. Like, why did I even ever doubt? Because, you know, like both of them, right? But like, they know what they're doing. And if they're going to knit a bunch of them, that should tell me that that is something I should knit, just like the half and half.
What I think it actually is, though, is the fact that I think if you're thinking about knitting garments for a look or aesthetic, like you're doing it, wanting it to look a particular way, then when you come across a construction or a shape that you're unfamiliar with, it's like, you don't know.
Yeah, I really didn't know, but I should have just trusted. But I didn't have to, because I knew you were if I didn't have Jackie, I probably would have made it and just tried.
But do you notice that one feels completely different? I forgot.
So is that where the seam is?
So you can do jogless stripes, and I did jogless stripes for all of the stripes except for one, because I just forgot.
You're welcome for me picking it, pointing it out. You did jogless. Well done. I probably wouldn't have done that. I would have just kept it on the one seam, but oh, this is very pretty, isn't it? It's very pretty. I'm making one.
I think I realized with this though that really low contrast is my happy home.
I like this more because this is a bit, it's really bold.
Yeah, it's really bold.
Especially wearing it like this. I think when you're wearing it over your neck, excuse me, it's a lot, like it's not obtrusive. Whereas here, like, it's not obtrusive, but it's a
like
lot. Like,
yeah,
you really are seeing like you're being wrapped in these stripes, which is cool.
But I love the color combination, like these two colors together.
They're so pretty.
They're so pretty.
Yeah.
I think they're so pretty. But Saturday Shred Club.
Saturday Shred Club.
Yeah, I have loved following along again with the knitting community, doing it because it's just so much inspiration, because as you choose different colors, different stripes, using different yarns, it really does lead to a completely different experience, both both aesthetically and then also in the wearing.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Like, well, and if you did it in Nutiden, then you would really notice that because the blends would be so different too.
Yeah,
so you would
I really
end up with
noticed the difference between these are sort of older blends and newer blends, and
it's super
feels
squishy.
Completely different.
This is like a marshmallow around me. Really, like I want to hug myself. I should recommend this to all my clients when I'm like telling them, you know, with compassion work, you know, I usually say like, put your hand on your chest right now. I'd be like, get out your Saturday shrug, put it on and then hug.
I know, I worked with a developmental psychologist who noticed for himself that like it was like weighted blankets, that like having something like hug you feels good, so he used to use a life jacket.
That's smart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Or you could stylishly do a Saturday shrug cup.
And see, I can sit here and probably, well, I don't know if that looks weird. It doesn't look weird to me to just sit and like I'm literally just hugging myself here.
Yeah.
But it feels like it makes sense because I've got this thing. I can't wait to knit me. I can't stop. I'm dying here. I want this
like
all the time.
So many options in terms of the styling.
It's so funny, and I agree. I love all the ways you did it, and I'm also just, I won't even try another one right now because I just want to feel this wrapped around me just like this.
Yeah, I think my fit, like, this feels the best, and I think it's cute, but I think that it's kind of like, you know, you were saying the thing about the shawl and sometimes not knowing how to like wrap a shawl. I feel like this is a cowl that you can wrap.
It's true.
Right?
It's a lot easier.
Play with like a little more in the front, or to sort of take it into the back, and you sort of like find your zhuzh. That one I really like to wear on the side, like on the bias or something. Like that. Like
yeah, that makes sense because of the
this way. Then I think that somehow that looks better than the across. And like sort of slouchy and open. I like that. And then you can, again, like, fold it.
It is really, maybe not that one. It
Yeah.
looks like there should be another head coming out there for me.
How many people can you fit in your shrug?
Well, it's a good question. We should try it, Jackie. Wow.
Yeah. So
I love it.
That's our, and again, there's like,
oh, we have so many more
so
things we
many
could talk
more
about.
things that we could talk about, but
I'm worried that there might be a
2:46.
limit on YouTube. I don't know if you do that as an hourly max.
Is there anything administratively that we were supposed to talk about?
The KAL, like, do we want to talk about that, or do we want to put that in a?
Yeah. So really quickly, the Inspired by Ellen knit along technically ended January 31st. We have some prizes to draw, but we haven't gotten ourselves organized to actually do so. And so a gentle reminder that although officially it ended January 31st, we're gonna draw for the prizes, which are this beautiful shawl pin and also sweater's quantity of Nutiden yarn in the colorway Lucra, which is very similar to
the tunic.
This, that we're actually going to draw for winners on February 20th, which is a stat holiday for us. So if you have already knit something and you want to enter to win, you can either post your project on our Ravelry group under the FO thread, or if you have already posted something on Instagram using the Inspired by LentoKAL hashtag, if you edit your post and change that hashtag to Inspired by LenFO, then that will automatically enter you into the draw. And
you can also, you don't even have to change it, you can leave it and just add FO.
Yeah, add FO, and then that will make you eligible, and we will draw the winner and contact them with so much gratitude for all of you who have participated in the KAL with us and gave us so much inspiration and community, and you know, we will.
I don't think we could have imagined.
No.
I don't think we could even, well, I know we didn't even imagine the possibilities that came out of this.
Yeah. And that KAL really gave, was really the momentum behind us being here and doing this podcasting thing. Yes. So we're so grateful for that and the community. And if you want to keep knitting along with us, please do tag us. Let us know what you're knitting, what's inspiring your knitting, what is your process, what's the momentum behind your knits. Like, keep sharing that with each other, sharing it in the comments. And if you want to also knit with toothpicks with us, then feel free to do so and tag us, or use the Toothpick Knit KAL hashtag for whatever it is that you have wanted to knit but haven't knitted because you were daunted by yardage or 3.5 millimeter or less or smaller needles.
I love that 3.5 millimeter, like that size 4s.
Oh, Should we go smaller than that?
Well, no, it's fine. Like it's everybody's toothpicks are different. But to me, like a 3.5 is like totally like normal.
It's normal. Yeah, because you knit sport and fingering weight all of the time.
A lot of, that's true.
Yeah, so.
To me, a toothpick is like 2. Well, but that's me.
I will be on US ones. Because I'm the loosest knitter in the world.
That's right,
I just want to be inclusive and like and throw a bone to all of you like tight English knitters.
Just to make sure I'm clear, please, those of you that find size 4, 3.5 millimeter toothpicky, then I am all for that, and you are part of our community. Don't be dissuaded.
Yeah, so I think the other thing that I was thinking about as Carmen's like, are we running a KAL? Is this a KAL? I'm like, it's super casual.
Right.
It ends on December 31st, 2023, maybe. But it's really just the idea of having a KAL out there that I think is about being slow.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that you can knit on for a while.
You can knit on for a while, and it's possible that for the next 6 months, I will have nothing to show on the podcast except for 1 more inch of my twig sweater. But more likely there's going to be 7 more Saturday Shrug clubs.
I won't. It's hilarious because that's impossible. But fine.
But fine. And maybe
if that were the case, yes, that would be absolutely fine.
Yeah. But the idea of sort of having a knit along that is about like savoring the slow.
Yes. Yeah.
And not having the pressure to sort of like finish.
True.
This frenzy of production that is sometimes enthusiasm and sometimes inspiration, but for me it's an invitation to really like savor the long process.
Yes,
savor the long process and to be inspired by other people who are savoring the long process, and recognizing that those long process things or sort of being patient, that's easier for us to do together than to do alone. So
I agree.
If you want to knit with toothpicks,
welcome
to the Toothpick Knit KAL.
And as a person, I think that has knit with these toothpicks before and doesn't see it as, I mean, it's not that it's not daunting. Like, as I say, when I look at like a quick, like a 10.5 needle, I'm like, oh my God, I'll get that done so quickly. And that's exciting to me. But I will say one other piece that you might find with this is that the fabric that's created from very fine needles and fine wool is really delightful and is something that you can't, like, it's also amazing to be thick and chunky and juicy like this, right? But like there is something very, it's beautiful to create a fabric like that, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And so I think you might find that it's not just about the slow, but also that you really appreciate the fabric that's coming off your knitting.
Yeah, so I'll be doing the twig sweater in case you want to do toothpicks and all over color work. We'll see where we get by December. Toothpicks and twigs. Is that what we should call it?
No, I like the toothpick KAL because we don't want people to have to do the twigs. We're not all going to do the twigs.
But if you're doing the toothpick knit along and also doing the twig sweater, then toothpicks and twigs. There we go.
Like it.
All right.
We love you.
We love you. We're so glad.
We hope you love us. 2 hours and 53 minutes of us.
You think we're ever gonna
we're just pushing it over and over.
What episode number do you think it will be when we crack 3 hours?
Next one. And I can't tell you what our number is now. What are we even at? 6?
Oh my
7?
gosh. Yeah, this is episode 6 of the Knitting a Good Yarn podcast. My name is Jackie. This is Carmen.
Did we even say our names?
I'm not sure. If we didn't, nice to meet you.
Hello. If you made it this long, not knowing who we were.
Yeah.
Love you.
Love you. We'll see you in a month's time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Bye.